Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to hell! Welcome to the show. Whoop Wednesday tonight. Stop playing! Blast from the past there. That was 2020, 4 years ago, when the T-Motor F40 Pro 4s, I don't know if that's when they first came out. That's when I got them, though. I tend to not get stuff when it's brand new. And yeah, that was me testing the big thing there is that was me going from the Pro 2 at 1600 kV to the Pro 4 at 1950. That was like the fourth battery that I flew, and I was bringing the motor limiting down each time. But yeah, blast from the past, man. 2020, 6/13/2020. Pro 4 testing is the file name. Is the folder name, I should say. Kind of cool to watch stuff from a bunch of years ago and be like, wow, I was way better at that, but not very good at this. In the chat, Parkour Guy was first, Cloudhopper, Curtis Hayes, Matthew Rose, Sleepy CBR, CMYK, Spaceman Spiff, Scotty Scott, Douglas 6, Cloudhopper, Cactus, FPV-ish, hello the kids, and Matthew Rose, 16-bit FPV. What's up, friends? CiottiFPV.com to support me. Tonight we're talking about the HGLRC Specter 10A AIO. The Happy Model X12 is an interesting AIO. I use the word interesting instead of good on purpose. Yeah, I'm looking for a replacement for it. In some testing that I did recently, and some other people have kind of talked about this, but I'm not really sure. Hang on. There's been rumblings and grumblings that the 5-amp FETs are just not enough for these bigger motors, bigger propellers, more aggressive powertrains. And I might have kind of sort of seen that in some of the recent testing I did on the bigger motors. And so, yeah, the X12 is an okay choice. I've had hit or miss luck with the X12. The very first, so the X12 comes with the Mobula 7 1S ELRS, and the first one that I got failed pretty quick. The second one I got lasted a while. It's been 2 years. It's been a while, but it is now. It was the subject of the motor twitching video the other day that we did, and at the end of that live stream, we determined that the AIO was blown up. That channel 3, one of the FETs must be on its way out. Normally, I would just keep flying it and flying it and flying it until it stops twitching and just dies completely. But that's not the best idea. I mean, look, you're gonna have to replace it anyway. I'm pretty cheap, so I fly stuff into the absolute ground and then I replace it once it's completely dead. And that way, the thing that I replace it with gets put onto it as late as possible, and then it will last as, nothing in FPV ever lasts forever. So if you wait as long as possible to switch it out, you'll then get more life out of what you're switching it out to because you got more life out of the previous thing, right? The problem with that is if it dies on a rooftop or in a tree or something like that and you can't get it out and you lose the entire rig, right? Then you lost a frame, a set of motors, a camera, a canopy, a battery, in addition to the garbage AIO. So a better idea is to kind of like, if it starts twitching, like, keep an eye on it. And then if it gets to the point where it's twitching a lot and it's sometimes like hard to take off because like the one motor won't fire, 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 that's a good time to kind of swap it out. And that's where this is at. This is to the point where I crash it and I have to arm it and rearm it at least 2 or 3 or 4 times to get this motor to start spinning up. And then I can fly around and it's fine until I crash again. And so, yeah, that's enough, that is it's about to die all the way at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's getting so bad that and that's a great point to swap it out, right? You got some extra use out of it. Away you go. Gave you a little bit of time to order your replacement AIO, for example, and let's get it switched out. This build on the X12 is 25 grams exactly. Mobula 7 1S ELRS, BT 2.0 swap, motor swap, propeller swap. These are the VCI 0802.8 27,000 kV motors. These are the GemFan 1.6-inch ultralight props. So 25 grams on the nose. I'll bet you with this AIO, we lose a little bit of weight. The X12 AIO is oversized, which is one of the most annoying things about it. And it really only fits in Happy Model frames. It fits in the Happy Model V3 frame, apparently. I don't know if I've ever necessarily tried it. It definitely fits in the Mobula 7 V4 frame, which is fine. That's a great frame. But in fairness, the Meteor 75 Air frame, I think I like a little bit better. It's a full gram lighter, which is not nothing. So when I put this back together, it's going to be in an airframe. So we're going to save a gram with the frame, and then we'll save another little bit, I think, with the AIO, because this HGLRC AIO is not oversized like the X12. So yeah, I'm thinking that we can get this down to maybe 23.5 grams. We'll find out. I'm going to make myself a note. Hold on. I'm going to make myself a note that it's 25 grams. 25 grams with X12. All right. And then if I put this note over here, in theory, I'll see it. So yeah, that's the plan tonight. I'm going to move these motors over. I'm currently kind of testing how strong the 1mm motor shafts are on these VCIs. They seem to be pretty stout, which is awesome because this is a hell of a motor. This rig with these motors is a blast. The runtime is not great, but it gets over 2 minutes, and the batteries don't seem to get that hot. So yeah, in theory, it's not hitting the batteries too hard. We've been talking previously about how if you build a TinyWhoop powertrain that is eating whatever the battery is that you're running, 300 mAh, 450 mAh are the two most popular, in less than 2 minutes, you're putting an awful lot of stress on those batteries, and you're not going to get very much life out of those batteries. So, yeah. Don't do that. Because these batteries don't last that long anyway. And it's just fucking annoying, man. Like even 2 minutes of runtime is like on the edge of being like, this is not quite enough. The difference between like 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes is wild. 3 minutes is always really my goal. I don't think we're gonna get this thing to 3 minutes of runtime even by dropping some weight here. You never know, but I doubt it. These are hungry motors. These are big boys. And 27,000 kV is a lot through 1.6 inch bi-blades. So yeah, man, that's the plan for tonight. I confirmed on the last live stream that the ceramic tower antenna will clear the Mobula 6 old school upside down ball sack canopy, which is awesome. And somebody commented on the last live stream and said that they've had their HGLRC Specter for a while, and they've tested a bunch of different canopies, and it clears all the canopies that they've thrown at it. So that's really, really cool. I really, really like that. I don't know if HGLRC did that on purpose or if that's sort of a happy accident. I kind of don't care either. All's well that ends well. So yeah, I'm kind of sad to see this X12 go, but it's time. It's time. When the ESCs start twitching like this, there are some things that you can do, but those things are typically band-aids. Especially if the twitching starts like after you slam it into a tree, for example, right? Like there's nothing in the software that changes when you slam these things into trees. It's physical damage that's happening, right? And so trying to fix physical damage with stuff in the software, it's never going to work, right? Like if you've got a flight controller, an AIO, or an ESC that has ever worked properly, and you didn't change anything in the software, and now it's not working properly, chances are it's broken, right? I don't care how hard you hit the concrete or the tree, the ones and zeros are secure. I promise you. I promise you they're stuck in there good, and they're not going to come flying out, even though sometimes you swear to God you hit it so hard that they did come flying out. What has actually happened is if you've done some physical damage, and the settings that you had before are pushing it like beyond its limit. And so like if you start basically like hurting the flight performance in some ways, you can get a little bit more life out of it, but you're putting a band-aid onto a head wound, it's going to start bleeding. It's going to saturate that band-aid at some point, and it's going to start twitching again. And so, yeah, best thing to do is get it out of there, which unfortunately costs money, but hey, welcome to life! Looks like this camera is, I didn't even realize, this camera is direct soldered to this board, so I didn't even need to get those extra Runcam Nano 3s, but I'm glad that I did. I will just desolder this camera from the X12 and solder it onto the Specter. The HGLRC Specter does not have a camera plug. You have to direct solder the camera to it. That is admittedly kind of one of the things that I like about the X12 and the 2G4 is that they have a little camera plug here, which just makes like testing different cameras a little bit easier. Although the plug is not universal, and it seems like every single tiny little TinyWhoop camera uses a different plug. which is completely maddening. But yeah, so the Specter is a little bit less plug and play, but not that much less plug and play in reality, because of the because not all of the cameras use this proper plug. And so if you buy a camera that doesn't have this plug, you have to either cut the plug off the camera and direct solder it, or direct solder a different plug to the camera. And that requires soldering. So yeah, it is slightly less plug and play, but not that much less plug and play in the grand scheme of things. Make sense? If you want to talk to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. Tag me! You can put an @ in front of it, but you actually don't have to. If you type somebody's name into the chat and you spell it correctly, for that person, it'll light up on orange. That's how you get my attention. You can also do a super chat if you want to support the mayhem that is attempting to do FPV full-time. I would greatly appreciate it. It really means a lot. Join the Patreon. That's the best thing that you can possibly do. They take a much smaller percentage. But yeah, everything you guys do helps. Click some affiliate links, change your bookmarks to affiliate links. It's all really, really, really good stuff. Speaking of comments, speaking of farts, somebody commented on the video from forever ago where I couldn't get the microphone to work. Crispy Drip. Shout out to Crispy Drip. So we did a live stream a while ago with these HDZero goggles where I was trying different antennas, and I had two problems. The first, the biggest problem is that none of the antennas were really working. I plugged in 5 different antennas here, and none of them were really working all that well. And there was a ton of like static and shit in the background. And I at the end of the live stream, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm doing something wrong here. If somebody knows what's up, please comment. And somebody finally did. On the, I don't know if this is like this on all modules, but on the rapid fire module, in the menu, it says audio on and off. And it passes audio from the module into the goggles. And if you have a microphone on your quad, that's all fine and dandy, although it kind of sucks because in that audio signal is the static. So every little bit of static as you're flying will come through as on top of the audio coming from the microphone. So I mean, it's not great. It's never been great. The whole like microphone on the quad thing, it always seems like a great idea, and then you do it and you're like, this sucks. And is kind of worthless. Because like when you're in the air, the motors are super loud, and so the audio that you get when you're flying is and then when you land, a lot of times there's static, so the audio that you get is so it's just, you know, again, seems like a good idea, but once you do it, you're very disappointed. And Crispy Drip was like, yo, you got to turn the audio off on the module. And I did that. But then in the goggle menu, for the audio recording, it still said mic, which means internal mic. So in doing so, all that static went away. And the internal mic sounded way better. But the internal mic picks up all the fan noise. And so that's why a bunch of people have done the external mic mod. And so I started plugging in the external mics again, and nothing happened. You got to go into the menu, like I showed you guys on. I don't think I might have displayed the goggle audio in the stream, but in the settings, there's a which mic should I use setting, and the 3 options are mic, which is the internal mic, line in, which is the headphone port, and then or headset port rather, and then audio video, which is this AV port. And so once I changed that option, now the microphone works, which is pretty awesome, and it sounds great. It doesn't pick up nearly as much of the fan noise. There's no static, and look how small that mic is. Like that, this mic doesn't exist when it sits on the desk. The mic is not the lowest point. And you put it into your bag, and it doesn't even, like, it won't snag on it as much as it'll snag on any of the other shit that's hanging off the damn thing. So yeah, shout out to Crispy Drip, man. Thank you for that comment. Extremely expensive, but very high quality HDZero goggles. Even more win now. It's it records. It sounds really nice, and I mean, you could even, and I have two lav mics. You could run a wire down your shirt and put like a proper lav mic here and get really good audio into the DVR, which is really cool. You know, I didn't realize how nice that is until I started using those goggles, and like accidentally, because initially I didn't even know that they had a mic on them, and I think I realized it when I was flying at the I was chasing the drift cars one night, and I was testing a bunch of different rigs, and like I was doing the thing that I normally do, where like if I'm testing 3 rigs, the rig that I'm about to fly, I'll point it at the beginning of the file, at the beginning of the DVR, I'll point it at the other 2 builds, so that I can see that, you know, here's the 2 that I'm not flying, which works, but like in the process I was like talking to myself, and then when I went to watch those files back, there was the audio of me talking, which was way easier than trying to decrypt the Da Vinci Code of like, 3 weeks ago, how were these, with how much testing I do, it's hard. For most people it wouldn't be this hard, but for me it was like, 3 weeks ago, which motors were on this rig? But I had that audio of me talking to myself saying like, all right, this is the rig with the 0702 32,000s. And so, yeah, having audio in your DVR from your goggles, really, really cool. Really, really, really nice. For testing, or even just for, like, usually testing. It's good for testing. That's what it's good for. I don't know what, as I was, I was kind of thinking, like, as I was saying that, like, well, what are the other things that it's good for? No, it's good for testing. If you're not testing something and you're just flying for fun or whatever, I don't necessarily know what good is going to come out of an audio recording. Although, look, even if you're not testing something, it's super helpful to say, hey, I'm flying this. Because 6 months later, when you're like, man, I was flying really good that day, I wonder which rig I was flying. If you have that in there, it's super, super, super nice to know what you were flying on a given day. I'm swapping some of this stuff over down here, in case you're wondering what the hell I'm doing. And so, yeah, I'm putting these motors into the Meteor 75 airframe. This is also going to allow me to really stress this Meteor 75 airframe out. I use this frame on all of the walk snail builds. Not all the walk snail builds, all the 1S walk snail builds. All one of them at this point. That is 1.6 inch. Right? Yeah, I guess it's just the one. And the walk snail builds I really don't like trash on, because they're kind of expensive, you know? Those are like $200 builds, $250 builds. And so I'll fly them, and like I flew them at Rampage a bunch, but I'm dialed back a little bit. Like I don't just recklessly hurl it at gaps and see what happens. Lightweight analog rigs, fuck it. They're so strong, they're so durable, they're so lightweight, that it's just, you know, if there's a chance that it might go through this gap, I'm just gonna fire it in there and see what the hell happens. And if I don't make it, it's gonna survive most of the time. And if it doesn't survive, it's like $100 loss, which is half as much, less than half as much usually, depending on which build, of course. But so yeah, this will be really cool to test these 75 airframes out and see if they kind of hold up compared to the Mobula 7 V4, which is pretty durable. The Mobula 7 V4 does have like a little bit of a problem where the little braces up above the battery are pretty fragile. I've been beefing them up with E6000, and I have not had one break since I've been doing that. And that also helps the battery kind of stay in there a little bit better. So it's a really good idea to do. If you have I'm going to show you in 1 second. If you have a Mobula 7 V4 frame, you should do this. If you don't do this, this part of the frame will 100% break on you. So at the very least, you don't have to take it apart to do this, but it helps if you do. So the neck, like at least do the outsides, and then the next time you pull your AIO out, do the inside. And so it's these little braces here that you see that black. This is actually E7000, but it's very similar. So you can do the top and the sides without taking the whole thing apart. So at the very least, do this, and this will also help the battery stay in there a little bit better. But then the next time you pull the thing apart, also do the inside parts there. And ever since I've been doing this, those little supports have not broken. Admittedly, I haven't flown any of these super hard since I started doing that on all of them. So it might not make that big of a difference, but it's definitely going to make a difference, right? Like we're adding a full 360 degrees of something to try to shore up that the connection point is straight like this, and that's never good. You always want to try to round stuff out, and that's what we're doing with the E6000 and E7000 is we're kind of rounding that out. Yeah, we're rounding it out with a different material, but yeah, it's certainly not going to make things worse, right? So do it. CMYKFPV says, "What's up, Gangly Gang?" And CiottiFPV. Matthew Arose says, "Ciotti watched Monday's stream this morning and you bought the Emax run cams. I just bought 3 of them and I'm adding JST plugs. Any thoughts of adding plugs instead of direct soldering?" I will be adding plugs to mine as well when I need them. Yeah, it's kind of all the same. Direct soldering a camera versus doing a plug on a camera, there's no real performance difference, right? Like with motors, you can argue that direct soldering motors, you're taking out the a little bit of resistance that you would have in the plug. But like with a camera, it doesn't make any difference. So yeah, if the AIO that you've got has a plug, I would say use a plug. Don't direct solder it. Some of these AIOs you have to direct solder, and that's when I direct solder them. I don't know why I direct soldered this one onto this X12. I don't know. I do know. This was a direct solder camera. This is the only Runcam Nano 3 I could find, and it was direct solder. And so the choice was desolder the wires from the camera and solder on a new a plug, or just direct solder the damn thing right to the AIO. And there's kind of no difference in the amount of work there. There's a difference in like serviceability in the future. But I was probably being lazy, and I was just like, nah, I'm gonna just direct solder it to the board. It'll be fine. And it was. It has been totally fine. But like from a serviceability standpoint, having it direct soldered sucks, right? The camera blows up. Now you got to direct solder this camera, and then direct solder another one on there, or do the right thing and put the plug on it, right? When the cameras have plugs on them, it's super nice. Camera dies, who cares? Unplug it, flop a new one on there, away you go. And I was probably thinking that I'm never going to be able to get Runcam Nano 3s again with the plugs, so I might as well rip the Band-Aid off and start direct soldering them. It kind of is what it is. I've heard that the X12 is no longer available, so yeah. The choice of AIOs with actual plugs on them is a little bit more limited. Hey, I heard a little birdie told me that Happy Model is actually still making the 2G4s. So maybe we can not be so nuts about every single time the 2G4s go in stock, we buy them all. But look, if you don't have a couple of extra 2G4s, you are taking a risk. And I think you should have 2. I think you should all have 2 extra 2G4s. Look, there's probably not going to, other than maybe a AIO with HDZero built in at some point here, which looks like we're gonna get. Other than that, I don't think that another analog AIO is ever going to come out that's as durable as the 2G4. And so I really don't think it's a bad idea at all for every single one of us to have 2 or 3 extra 2G4s. I really think that it's just, yeah, it's something that's going to be valuable like forever, basically. And it makes a lot of sense to just kind of snag 1 or 2 extras. They fly phenomenal. You might even get one with an MPU 6000. They're hysterically durable. And so, yeah, I think we should keep snagging them when they pop up. But, like, I don't necessarily think you need to have 5 or 6 or 7 extra 2G4s. Although, I mean, look, some of the best TinyWhoops that we've ever... The Ultimate Freestyle TinyWhoop formula... really like kind of settled in a year and a half ago, and like, sure, we've gone from 18.1 grams down to 17.4 into like the mid to high 16s, but the 18-gram rigs still fly amazing. And like for the higher KV motors, they almost make more sense. Like if you're going to do a 32,000 or a 36,000 or a 40,000 KV motor, the 16 and 17 gram rigs are awful light. And you could make the argument that like 18 grams is the number. Super durable at that weight. And you're going to get a little bit more mass for the off-throttle kind of hurls across the room. And if you're building a rig with 36,000 or 40,000 kV motors, you're looking for power. And when you're looking for power, a lot of times you're also looking for that mass and that momentum. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a big old supply of 2G4s so that you can keep an 18-gram big power TinyWhoop in your life forever. HDZero is never going to be as light as analog. It's looking like the AIO with built-in HDZero rigs are going to be about 20 grams, right at 20 grams apparently, with 702s. And there's a serious difference between 20 grams and 18 grams, just like there's a difference between 18 grams and 17 and 16. So an HDZero build is never... An HDZero build at 20 grams is never going to fly as good as an analog build at 18. Analog is a lot cheaper. Lots of benefits of analog, right? You fly TinyWhoops in your house, so you really don't need much range. And like at the ranges that we fly TinyWhoops at, the video signal is pretty crystal clear. Sure, HDZero is going to be better, for sure. But absolutely nothing wrong with analog TinyWhoops forever, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. But, like I said, if you don't have an extra 2G4 or 2 or 3, get them, because they will be gone at some point, you know? Like, there will be a point where they no longer make that because they've got the 2024 board. But yeah, that's super cool. All right. What's happening in the chat? King Dingaling says, I hope the Spectre is good. I smoked my Flywoo ERVT 2S board trying to squeeze it in a Petrol 85 frame last weekend. $100 oopsies suck sometimes. Yeah, they do, man. It is super annoying when you break something that's your fault. Especially because like making a mistake and breaking something that's your fault anywhere outside of FPV is nowhere near as annoying as in FPV, because it's like, I fucked this up and now I have to redo it, and like guaranteed, even when I get this right, it's going to blow up on its own accord. And so it's like, I've just doubled the blow upness, you know. So that sucks, but in theory, you know, that's the way that we learn the most. Michael Blade says, "Hey." Remlo says, "Funny, I literally just tried setting up one of these today. Everything worked, but no motor spinning." Great. Hopefully you get it figured out. Hopefully it's a motor. Take two of the motors. Take the motor that's not working and a motor that is working, and swap them. And that'll tell you, is the problem the motor or is the problem the AIO? Tiny Shark FPV says, "Thoughts on the YMZFPV? What the fuck is that? Lightning 2-inch freestyle. What the hell kind of a name is that? What is this thing? Come on, Race Day Quads. You can do it. Come on. Come on, Race Day Quads. $160. It's a pretty good price. What the fuck? What is happening here? Is this... The entire top plate is aluminum? What in the... Oh, great. It's got a wing. Oh, man. Bubby. This is your fault. I blame you. Luckily, you can cut the stupid thing off. So that's suggestion number one, is to cut the goddamn wing off. Looks like it's got 1003s on it. That's pretty cool. Interesting. I hate this aluminum top piece. Feels like they're just doing that to make it look cool and sell more of them. We've learned with every other quad that standoffs and a carbon fiber top plate makes more sense. But hey, you know, these companies have to sell these things to stay in business, so that's interesting. Tesla drone, what the hell does that mean? Yeah, and the other nice thing is if you do a carbon fiber top plate, then you can put the battery up there, which makes it fly better. This is going to have to sling the battery on the bottom, and that's a much more uneven center of gravity when you put the battery all the way there on the bottom. So that's kind of a missed opportunity, but again, you know, they got to sell shit, so... It's whenever there's like a new rig, there's always going to be like one thing that is either insane or whatever. 45 grams, that doesn't seem to be that bad. I'm surprised it's that light with a big old chunk of aluminum on top like that. Set up for 2-inch props, 1 to 2S. You would almost certainly want to run this on at a weight of 45 grams. You are certainly going to want to run this on 2S. 12 amp ESC, that's cool. Well. The flight controller is a Happy Model X12. So, yeah, your mileage may vary on that. I don't know, it could be fine. The motor is, oh yeah, this is not 1S. This is a 2S rig. It's on a 1003 10,000 kV motor. So yeah, it might not even get off the ground on 1S. So yeah, this is 2S for sure. Caddx Ant camera, great. Yeah, I don't know, looks interesting. It looks like Nick Burns has a review. Whatever he says is almost certainly dead on the money. So yeah, watch Nick's review and trust it. He is an awesome guy, a great pilot, a great reviewer. Yeah, just a super cool dude. Has anybody seen that review? Can anybody tell me what Nick thought? Parkour Guy says, X12 also comes on the bassline 2S and the Mobula 8 2S. I did not know that. So they're putting... So the X12 says it's 1 to 2S, and I've always been kind of wary about that. But shit, they're putting it into 2 different rigs and running it on 2S, so it must actually be okay. So that's cool. This Specter is 1 to 2S. I am not going to try it on 2S. I've got a bit of a checkered past with to say the least, with HGLRC electronics, and yeah, I'm gonna leave this thing on 1S and probably forever. I don't necessarily even trust it on 1S at the moment. Hopefully it proves me wrong. But yeah, we're gonna start slow and ramp it up from there. But yeah, this is gonna be 1S for sure for a while here, probably forever. There's a chance though that I might at some point try it on 2S. I doubt it though, because it has a full-size USB on the bottom there, and a lot of the 2S frames pull the big fat 2S battery up, and it'll hit that. And so, yeah, for my 2S rigs, I'm running this BetaFPV board that has removed the USB, and they've put an extra JST plug on top that you plug a little adapter thing into that then gives you USB. And that way you can tuck the battery up. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever run this on 2S, but you never know. Never say never. Right? 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 No. Always say never. All right, putting some grommets on. They use the little the open holes on the outside, which makes putting grommets on this much work. I just came. I whispered it so that other people in the room wouldn't be offended. Hopefully that worked. What am I doing? I don't need to put those on. Oh, look at that! I can just take them right off. Boy, is that nice. There will be a moment where it pisses me off that the holes are open like that. Probably when I'm putting it into the frame and the grommets start falling off. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty nice to have those grommets like that. Ooh, this comes with a little set of screws that are actually really interesting. So, all right, here's the screws that it comes with. Here are the screws that the Mobula 6 canopies use. Note the length. These are conical screws, and that does kind of sink down into the... Well, here's one in there. So that does kind of sink down into the... Get the reflection just right. Into the Mobula 6 canopy. See it there? But look at these. These are longer and they're flathead. So like they'll sit up on top, but I actually really like these. These are a really good replacement screw. Look at the length difference. So these are going to engage more of the plastic posts in here, right? Which is a really, really, really good thing for strength. So this is super nice that these screws come with this AIO. These are screws that you're going to use instead of these guys, which is pretty awesome. I love that. So, I mean, at the very least, even if this AIO sucks, they sent 5. I got 5 really good screws out of the deal, which is something. It actually is something. Trying to track down these little ass screws is super annoying, especially in black. You can find them on eBay in silver, but like that just looks like shit. So I'm gonna swap this thing over actually to the longer screws. I'm gonna put these shorter Happy Model screws away, and yeah, I'm gonna move over to these. That's pretty cool. I know that seems like a super nerdy thing, but if you build like 15, 20 different TinyWhoops and fly the shit out of them and crash the shit out of them, this is actually something that will really excite you, I promise. I don't know if that's sad or what, but it's a thing. I need to find a place to put this. Hey, for anybody that has, I forgot, for anybody that has HDZero goggles and wants a little microphone, I got 2 of these. Let me know, and you can buy this off of me now that I've told you how to get the damn things working properly with audio. So yeah, let me know. The Specter comes with a PH 2.0 plug, which you'll never use. It is solid pin though, that's nice. And it comes with a little whip antenna that you'll probably just end up stripping down and making ultralight, which is what I'll do with it. No, I have a micro V for this. That's right. If anybody wants one of these, hey, I'm going to show you how to do it. Here's how you take the silly little whip, the UFL whip antennas that you have all over the place, and make them ultra light. It's going to hurt the performance of the antenna, but most TinyWhoops stay in the house. And this little mod works totally fine around the house. So a regular whip antenna, this is actually one of the lighter weight whip antennas with the slightly thinner wire here. A regular whip antenna is 0.53 of a gram. I'm going to show you how to make it over half as light. So we're going to go from 0.53 to, I believe, 0.2. Take your little flush cutters, and you're going to cut the shrink wrap off. The shrimp wrap off here. So start at the bottom, cut up to the silver thing, being careful not to cut the wire itself, obviously. And then once you get to the silver thing, we have the technology. We just have to use it. So there you go. Oh, balls. Do I have like a sheet of paper or something? I do not. Here, what about this? What this? Will this work? How can I do this here? Oh, for Christ's sakes. This is quite the fakakta setup, but might be all right. All right, I'm giving you nothing with contrast to focus on. Focus on this, Logitech. Focus on this, please. Please! Oh, you... All right, I'm going to have to do it like this. Hold on, please! All right, so you cut it up to the part where it gets thick. Oh my God, Logitech. Can you please get your heads out of your asses and figure out your autofocus algorithm? There we go. So cut it up to the point there, and then sometimes you can just kind of like peel it off at this point. But you got to be careful because this is kind of fragile down here. So I'll actually cut a little bit farther. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cut it while you guys are watching, but you know how to cut things. This is how I kind of do it. All right, now, yeah, I can't do it in front of the camera like that. Everything is so hard to do in front of the effing camera because, like, either I can't see what I'm doing or whatever. So I'm just going to keep working it, and then I'll just show you in a second. All right, there we go. So cut it up the side like that. I'm being patient. I'm being very patient. There you go. Cut up the side like that, and now you should be able to kind of peel it off and remove it. And I mean, right here, you've actually saved a bunch of weight. Shrimp wrap is pretty heavy, man. It's because of the even though we've moved away from using actual live shrimp for shrimp wrap. We've moved to artificial shrimp exoskeletons. There are still tiny little bits of shrimp in there, so you're looking to peel it off like that and get rid of it. So yeah, there's little bits of shrimp in here which are very heavy, and so just by removing the shrimp wrap, you've actually saved a bunch of weight, and it comes off like that. And you can run this antenna like this, and it'll actually work a little bit better, believe it or not. And so yeah, if you don't want to save all the weight, if you want to save a little bit of weight, but you don't want to sacrifice performance, this is what you do. And then you just have a silly silver thing hanging out the top of the rig. But to really make it lightweight, if you're not like pushing range with your TinyWhoop, you're now going to remove this silver thing. Right up here is a little bit of solder. I know it's hard to see, but this smooth transition here is solder. So all you're going to do is... I might be able to do it on camera. Let's see. All you're going to do is put the tip of your soldering iron there, and then you can pop this silver bastard off, and now you're going to have something that is super lightweight. And so the soldering iron is coming up to temperature. Don't quote me on that shrimp wrap info. That's trade secret. Those are trade secrets. If you try to look for it on the unions over there have actually scrubbed the internet because of the cruelty to animal, because of PETA basically. PETA went after the shrimp wrap industry and forced them to treat the shrimp more fairly. And so instead of giving the shrimp a living wage for sacrificing their lives, Big Shrimp just went ahead and started doing synthetic shrimp for their shrimp wrap. So here you go. Touch it. It's going to melt that solder pretty quick. It is going to make this silver thing get really hot really fast. So try to be as quick as you can and just push it off. And away you go. That's it. That's all you got to do. And the silver thing rolls by. That was perfect. So there you go. Now you've got an ultra lightweight antenna. You can run it like this, but there's this little tiny ground area here. And I like to, and one of the things I've noticed is that the active element here, if it bends a bunch of times, it'll crease right at this joint. So what I like to do is put just a wee little bit of cruelty-free shrimp wrap on there, and that just helps the active element of the antenna last a little bit long. So cut yourself a tiny little bit of crab wrap and crab rangoons. Cut yourself a crab rangoon and just stick it on in there. Put your crab rangoon there, and then use the power of fire to hook it up. And then, yeah, it's just not going to crease as badly. And it'll be a little bit more durable. And there you go. That's it. And so now the active element, it's got just like not as sharp of an edge to kind of bend around. Being very patient. Very, very patient. Being extremely patient with Logitech. I'm out of patience. That's how you do it, my friends. While you're at it, some antennas come with this, some don't. If they don't come with this, put another piece of shrink wrap there. It doesn't have to be that long, but put another piece of shrink wrap at the base of the UFL there, where it connects to the wire. This one came with it. Some of them come with it, some of them don't. If they don't, do it. It doesn't need to be this long. It just needs to be a little bit, just to cover up the transition from the UFL to the actual wire. And now we've got a perfectly good antenna. If you're extra industrious, you can cut the active element off. Unfortunately, that's going to screw up the total length of the antenna. The total length of the antenna does matter. But you can cut off the active element, and then antennas are 4 layers. Hold on, let me weigh this first before I get all crazy on you. 0.22 of a gram. So there you go. There's how you save 0.3 of a gram, I think. Wasn't it 0.53? 0.53 or 52? These antennas are 4 layers. An outer silicone black layer, a layer of braid, which is the ground, and that's what we just covered up. That ground is what's soldered to this thing. So that's the second layer. The next layer is plastic, and that's the plastic that you see outside of the active element. And then the very innermost part is the active element wire. And so what you can actually do if you don't want to lose a little bit of performance because you've removed the ground plane is cut the active element, measure out the right distance. You can find that on Google. And then you strip the black outer silicone. You maintain the braid. You pull the braid out to the side at the same distance the same length as the active element, you pull that braid out to the side and you put it at a 120-degree angle. And that acts just like the micro V. That's the angle of the micro V, is 120 degrees. And you can build yourself a little micro V antenna. You take that braid, the ground braid, you run it at that 120-degree angle. You can like shrink wrap it down, or you can take like 2 pieces of clear tape and then like cut them out, and you can make yourself a tiny little micro V antenna. Look, the ORT micro Vs are $6. I'm willing to do this much work. I'm not willing to go any farther than this. I will gladly spend $6 on an ORT micro V to not have to chop, measure, deal with the braid, deal with pulling this. Like, making one of these into a micro V realistically is like, you're probably going to be going at it for about a half an hour. The first time you do it, it's going to be like an hour. As you do it more and more, you can maybe get it down. But it's hard. It's a pain in the ass to deal with. It's very fiddly. The braid is a pain in the ass. You got to get the angle just right. You're going to be reducing the total length of the antenna, which is actually going to hurt its performance a little bit. Like, for example, right? Like, look at the micro V. Look at the length of the micro V. It's the same here. If you go and cut this thing down, it's the total length of the antenna is now incorrect. The total length of the antenna is not as important as the length of the active element, but it still does make a difference. And that's kind of another thing. If you cut this active element, now you're relying on a ruler to try to get the length of the measurement perfect for the new active element. And there's going to be some, you're not going to get it absolutely perfect. Does the manufacturer of these antennas get it absolutely perfect? Probably not, with how cheap these antennas are, right? But still, you're introducing a bunch of potential error in there. So yeah. ORT micro V for the win, in my opinion. Parkour guy says, no, we got that. CMYK says, that mic looks awesome. Where did you get that? Amazon, but I have the extra one. Let me know if you want it. It's all yours. Of course, I just sent you a package, though, didn't I? Or no, I didn't! Oh! Look, sorry, friends, but CMYK gets first dibs on this mic because I have a package of stuff that I'm going to be sending him. So, yeah, if CMYK wants it, it's his. Crispy Drip is in the chat. Hey, Crispy, thank you again, man, for letting me know to turn the audio off on the receiver module to get the audio working properly on HDZero. That's actually super helpful, man. Much appreciated. Brent Anderson says, getting that smack talk on tape when you're flying with a friend would be cool. That shit, too, right? Like, there's just things that happen when you're flying that are hysterical. And, yeah, it's thumbs up, HDZero. Way to go. Flying Carrot says, how come no one talks about the Vision 40? I don't know. It's a perfectly good build. There's a 1S version of it, which sucks. But the 2S version of it is kind of great. It's very similar to the walk snail builds that I've been doing. I don't love the 3D printed canopy, admittedly. But other than that, yeah, the Vision 40 is really good. I'll never forget the first time I flew it at Rampage last year. It's either last year or the year before. I was like ready to hate it, and Joshua was reviewing it, and he was actually filming me. I'm in his review of it, and I was like, I even said it in there. I was like, I was ready to talk trash on this thing, but this is actually really good, way better than I thought. And I think that was even only the 1S version of it. The 2S version of it is super similar to the 2S Walksnail 75mm rig that I've been really, really, really happy with. And I talked to Tyler Gruss, FPV, at this year's Rampage about it a lot because he's done a lot of testing with it, with motors, with prototype motors through their connection with T-Motor. And we were kind of sharing war stories about what a pain in the ass it is to get a Walksnail 75mm 1S rig to actually fly decent. And that was like the nail in the coffin for me of like, you know, if Tyler, who's been able to get a bunch of prototype motors, can't get it, then like it's just not happening, and I'm glad, because that put me on that was the final little push that I needed to go 2S, and yeah, 2S is kind of the way. Unless somebody comes out with a really powerful but really efficient 0803, I think it's going to have to be. I don't see it. I don't see 1S walk snail 75 really being viable. It flies totally fine, but like for hard freestyle, and like here's the big problem is that like 2 extra grams gets you into 2S the way that I've set the 2S rig up, and the difference in runtime and power is absurd. So it's like, yeah, sure, maybe someday there'll be a 75 mil 1S walk snail rig that's even better than what we have today, but it's never going to catch up with 2S. And the weight that those rigs are and what we're trying to do with it, and the walk snail system is kind of power hungry. It certainly seems like, yeah, 2S is the way. I'm pretty convinced. But maybe there's something about the 2S builds that is not really durable. So yeah, it's kind of early days for that. I broke the AIO like 10 batteries in, and so maybe 20 batteries in, and that's nowhere near enough time to really get to see. But our mailbag, well, you know what? I kind of ruined the surprise, but why is everyone on the internet like this? And why do I join in on this stupidity? This is an extra BT 3.0 charger / checker. These are some of the best things that BetaFPV makes. This is the BT 3.0 version. This is the BT 2.0 version that I've put stickers on. These are chargers and cell checkers. Both. They do both. There's a screen. There's LEDs behind this. And yeah, when you plug a battery in, it tells you what voltage the battery is at. When you plug USB in, it charges the battery. That's amazing. And I have one, but I wanted another one to put in my bag because it's awesome. You have one here to charge and check, and then you have one in your bag mainly as a voltage checker. But if you're out somewhere and you need to charge the battery, you know damn well you've got a USB-C cord somewhere that you can plug in and charge a battery real quick. Amazing, 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 amazing little glip-glop. I didn't have many of the HQ YOLO props, and since they only live once, I snagged a couple of extras. They also have, I don't know why I got pink ones, but they've got a unique color in these props. So I got 2 sets of those. They've got this like cleary, milky, whitey color. So yeah, the YOLO props are really good, but they are truly. They're not that bad. They're not that bad. I mean, when you crash them hard, they fold. The propeller folds, and then you can fold it back. And then when you crash normally, it'll fold again, right? Like once it folds once, now it's got that weak spot, and it's gonna just like target that weak spot. It feels like, and then they'll die. But like they're more durable than I thought. I assumed. After the first couple crashes with them, when I saw them starting to fold, I was like, oh man, these are only going to last like a couple batteries. But I've had pretty good luck folding them back straight and then keep running them, and then fold it back straight again and run it some more. It's really been, they've been more durable than I've thought. I'm not going to stop calling them the YOLO props because it's a very easy way to differentiate them from the 1219S. The Gemfan 1219S is a little bit heavier, but it's more pitchy, so it's going to make more power, but it's heavier. The fact that it's heavier is because it's significantly stronger. So like the Gemfan 1219S, it's gonna feel like a normal TinyWhoop propeller. It's got like the durability of a normal TinyWhoop propeller. These YOLO props are significantly less durable than pretty much like any other TinyWhoop prop that you've ever experienced. And so I really do think that the YOLO name is pretty fitting for them. If you want these in red, you can get them in red from Weebleed. HQ did a run of them in Weebleed Blood Red, which is super cool. So your color options for the YOLO props are, there's a blue that TinyWhoop custom dyes, and then they just make them regularly in green, smoke crotch gray, and pink. And then BetaFPV, you can get them in the milky whitey clear, and then Weebleed, you can get them in the blood red. So yeah, a bunch of different options for the YOLO props. If you have not flown the YOLO props yet, you need to. They're that good. Like everybody needs to have flown these propellers. They are shocking how lightweight they are. They are lighter weight than as a tri-blade than the Gemfan 1210 biblades. That's ridiculous. The Gemfan biblades are way more durable, but still, like the fact that there's a tri-blade that's lighter than a biblade is absurd. That should not be possible. And so, like, if you've got a rig on, let's say, like 28,000, 29,000, 30,000, even like 32,000 kV motors, the YOLO props are awesome for that. If you're up in like 36,000, 40,000, you want the Gemfan biblades. But yeah, for those lower kV motors, these will make a little bit more power than the Gemfan biblades. Although, to be honest, on rigs like that, I really like the Gemfan 1219Ss because they really wake those lower kV motors up a little bit more. But still, look, you can get all three. There's three 1.2-inch props that you absolutely need in your life. 1210 biblades, 1219S tri-blades, YOLO tri-blades. You should have all three of those at all times because they're all really, really good. This is a set of straight BT 2.0 leads. Why? No, it's not. This is the this is the a set of the 2S leads. That's right. Yeah, there they are. There it is. So this takes two BT 2.0 batteries in series? Or is it parallel? I always get them confused. Either series or parallel, takes two 1S batteries and outputs 2S. Very, very cool. This is the setup that I have on the Tiny Lifters. What's really cool about this is you don't have to buy any new batteries. You don't have to buy BT 3.0 connectors and BT 3.0 batteries. You can just use double 300 mAh stick batteries. Shit, you could even do double 260 mAh batteries. The problem you're going to run into is, what do you do about those two batteries? The reason why I did that setup on the Tiny Lifters is that the Cockroach 75 frame has these little TPU printed pieces where you can put a battery on the bottom and then a battery on the inside here. It's hard to see the inside there, but yeah, you can see it there, right? And yeah, that's pretty cool. This is not a Freestyle frame, though. This is a cinematic frame. It is very weak. You do not want to crash this frame. And so for a Tiny Lifter, this setup is absolutely perfect. There are no other frames that are set up to hold two stick batteries like that. So I don't know what you would do. You're probably going to end up doing like a rubber band or something. And like, you know, that's okay, I guess. I typically don't do that though. It looks like shit. And like, it's just annoying. It just ends up annoying me. The rubber bands stretch out, the rubber bands break. Sometimes it's like really hard to get the batteries in with them. I just stay away from that setup if I can help it. But I want to have these around because they're super nice to have. Maybe that's what I do with that Tiny Hawk Plus. because that thing needs 2S. Yeah, I don't know. I want to have these around because this is such an awesome little way of getting 2S on existing batteries, right? Like, you bring your TinyWhoops, you bring the 1S and the 2S, and you just have a whole bunch of these batteries, and life is good. I'm curious if there's a weight difference between that BT 3.0 TinyWhoop battery and two 300 mAh batteries. So let's find out. What do you say? What is in here? What is this? Oh, this is the Super X. Right. All right. So here is the brilliant TinyWhoop BT 3.0 300 mAh battery. This guy is 15.29 grams. Two of these are 17 grams. No way. Wow. Damn. Okay. I did not... I thought for sure these were going to be lighter. Huh. Let's do this. Let's weigh it with the connectors. Yeah. Hold on. Maybe there's a weight difference here. Hold on. BT 3.0 with the plug that you would need. 16.66 grams. BT 2.0, the thing that you would need, and the batteries, 18.48 grams. Yeah, no. Wow, BT 3.0 with these little batteries is lighter. That's a lot lighter, too. I'll be damned. Well, convenience versus performance. Convenience, because I know you've already got a bunch of these batteries, and you're going to have a 1S rig no matter what, right? Convenience, performance. There you go. Isn't that exciting? This is actually super cool. For the record, these are very easy to make. You can just take apart a couple BT 2.0 leads. Here's what you need to do though. If you're gonna make your own, the jumper between them is going from round to not round. That's all you need to know. Round to not round on the little jumper. And then the other leads from power, round is ground. So that's how you would make one of these. But BetaFPV sells them. So be lazy like me. If you're going to buy them, I think BetaFPV's website is the only place you can get them from. I do have a affiliate link over on CiottiFPV.com for their website. Use it, yo! Change your bookmark to BetaFPV to my affiliate link. And then you don't even have to think about it. Know what I mean? All right, I've got a... What is the deal with... There's stuff everywhere. What is this? These are 1610s? Why are there 4 bags of 1610s? 1mm shaft... What is this? What is happening here? Hold on. And then there's a bunch of HQ 1.6s. I think I know what's going on. I also got some of the 450 mAh lavas to check out against the old school BetaFPV 450s, as well as the WeBleed 450s. My suspicion is that they're all the same. The old BetaFPV blue and white 300 mAh batteries were not the same. Those were very obviously rolled cell batteries, and they didn't perform all that well. These BetaFPV blue and white 450s, they're very square, and they perform really well. And so I'm pretty sure that these lava 450s are exactly the same as these old school blue and white 450s. Do not quote me on that. I could be totally wrong. But these blue and white 450s fly every bit as good as the WeBleed folded cell 450s. And so that's another kind of dead giveaway that yeah, they are folded cell. And so maybe the lava folded cells are a different chemistry. Maybe they're a little bit better, but I have my doubts. So yeah, we will check these BetaFPV Lava 450s out, get them charged up. Actually, I'll put them on the charger right now. Okay. There's going to be a bunch of 450s that need to get flown tomorrow. I hope it doesn't rain. Every single day that I've had time to fly this week, it has been raining exactly like when I'm ready to go out there. And it's starting to upset me. And then BetaFPV was kind enough to send me a couple of their 260s with the Air 65 Proto a while back. And I was really impressed by them. So I figured I would pay it forward and buy a set of the 260s from them. And so, yeah. Just showing my appreciation, you know what I mean? Very cool of them to send me stuff. And you know, they even threw my name on their website as one of the people that helped test the Air 65, which was super cool. They didn't need to do that. So that was nice. Yeah, on super light, lower KV builds, these 260s are pretty awesome. I'm very impressed with them. I am going to do what you guys should do, that I have talked about a bunch, and label these. When you get a fresh set of batteries, it doesn't matter. So, like, the Lava 450s, this is the only set that I have, so I don't need to do this. These are the 4 Lava 450s that I have, and it's fine. I don't need to mark them. They're the only ones. If I get another set of these, though, like with these 260s, I already have a set of the 260s I've been running. They're not marked. This is the second set. I'm going to mark this set. Get yourself a set of metallic Sharpies. They'll write on absolutely anything, even on black. And when you get your batteries, stack them up like this. Stack them up like that, and just put a color on them. And now this is the blue set of batteries that I bought whenever, at some point. And so now as these batteries degrade, I can compare their performance to the other 260s that aren't markered. And then if I buy another set, I'll mark them in red, next set green, next set gold. And then it helps you to kind of evaluate. You know when it really helps is when the batteries start performing like shit. If like 6 months from now, these blue markered 260s will probably start performing like ass, and I'll be able to see, like, I'll run a battery and take it off and be like, oh, that's a blue battery and it didn't feel really good. Noted. And a week later, I'll fly another bunch of batteries and I'll pull one of these batteries off. Oh, that's another one of those blue batteries. Okay, that set of batteries is getting old. And it's just super nice to have a little bit of a timestamp on the batteries, basically. You know what I'm saying? So do it. It doesn't take any time. And any excuses to buy colored Sharpies. I mean, come on. Harry Bennett says, I use DJI 03 with my 3.5 and 5-inch, and I just bought the Mobula 6 HDZero 2024 Eco. What goggles would you suggest? I like buying the right thing first time rather than upgrading in the future. If you're looking to buy goggles, you only have one option. That's the HDZero goggles. Yeah, the HDZero goggles are great. I did a big live stream about them. You can look that up on the channel here. In case you didn't know, on YouTube, you can search just somebody's channel. If you're on somebody's channel, there's a little magnifying glass here, and this will only search within their channel. So if I search for HDZero, goggles, there you go. This is the live stream here. Our fully pimped HDZero goggles worth $867. I went all the way down the rabbit hole in that video, and really talked about all the strengths, all the weaknesses. I can't. HDZero goggles are amazing. Don't get me wrong. They are amazing. They are an amazing piece of tech. I've never been as impressed by a set of goggles in terms of like fit and finish, quality of the screens, the menus, how much stuff there is on them. They are awesome. But are they 600? They're either $600 or $500. That is a lot of money for goggles. And so it's not just like yeah, definitely buy those. You can buy the little piggyback modules. You can buy the little bolted on the front of other goggles. This is the old school one. There's a newer generation of this, but you can do this. I don't like this. This puts a bunch of weight all the way out on the front, and that makes the goggles like do this on my face, and so it like puts a bunch of pressure here, which I really do not like. I get this, and this is super cool, but it's not for me. But like this is the other option, is to get something like this and bolt it to the front of another set of goggles. And that's like, you should not listen to anyone else about that. Like that's a decision that you should make 100% for yourself. And so yeah, watch that live stream. There's timestamps in the live stream, and you'll get the full picture of like what's good about HDZero goggles, what's not so good. Yeah, I mean, if you've got it sounds like you've got a bunch of O3 stuff, so you probably have some money, and so yeah, that's probably the direction that you'll want to go. What's really cool about the HDZero goggles is they're also you can put an analog module on the side, and you can have the fanciest set of analog goggles on earth. And like if you're getting into TinyWhooping, eventually you're going to do an analog TinyWhoop because they fly better than any of the ones with digital systems. So yeah, I think the HDZero goggles are probably where you're going to end up going, which is totally fine. They're phenomenal goggles. And so yeah, there's that. Where is the bag of 1.6-inch propellers? Is the question that I have for the universe. There should be a bag of 1.6-inch biblade props, and it should be right there, but it's not. And I have a pile of... This ain't it. Hey! I knew it existed! Alright. Wait, these are the 1.5. Yeah, no, I need to like segment this out a little bit better. Shit sticks. Actually, what I need to do is have 2 bags for these, so that's fine. Will this sticker peel off? Will it peel off cleanly? Please peel off cleanly. You bastard. You immediately did not peel off cleanly. Yeah, whatever, I'll use it anyway. This is silly. There should not need to be a bag of 1mm shaft and another bag of 1.5mm shaft. Why did I order so many of these? Oh, because they're gray. That's right. It's getting harder to find these in gray. Whatever. I'm actually going to put these over there. And the main reason why I did a BetaFPV order is for a replacement AIO. This is the F4 1S 12 amp brushless flight controller version 3.0 curve pin terminal base F405 serial ELRS 2.4. The magic of this AIO is that they give you this annoying little USB-C port and this little JST to JST plug that you use to... I've now got a bunch of these. If you need one of these, let me know. I now have like 4 of these, I think. That you use to interface with this JST plug for USB. So on your 2S builds, the bottom of this thing Well, this is actually the bottom here. And the thickest part on the bottom is the motor plugs. Oh man, this is super annoying. They've got this set up for toothpicks now. This is not the end of the world. The other, but this is admittedly annoying. They're using the motor plugs that go outwards, which I'm not going to be able to. So I'm going to have to remove these. And what is cool is they give you in the bag the straight plugs. So the other one of these that I bought, there were no plugs on it at all. And so I just quickly soldered on these. This is a little bit of extra work, but it'll be fine. So yeah, this board is very flat. You see that? Every single other TinyWhoop board has that big gangly USB port hanging off the bottom, and that USB port on the 2S builds hits the battery, and that is no good. This AIO, the USB port is on that guy, and so you can run that upwards, so you can tuck the batteries up in the frames. Let me see if I can show you that. Where is a frame? Here we go. So this is the Mobula 7 V3 frame, and you can see the battery bay here sits up really far. So if I take this Specter AIO and I drop it in here, what you'll notice is that the USB port, hold on. The USB port, oh, it does clear. Oh, shit. Okay. So on the Mobula 7 V3 frame, it does clear. But I'm super interested in the Mobula 7 V4 frame for 2S to save a little bit of weight. And the mod that you do is you cut those upper battery support pieces that break anyway out of here, and now it does tuck the battery up really far. And so if you run a regular AIO in there, the USB port gets in the way of the battery. Boy, is that hard to see because Logitech sucks a bag of donkey dicks. There we go. So yeah, that USB port is completely in the way of the battery, right? Like, I had the battery a second ago. Where the hell is it? Here, I'll put the battery in there and you'll get to see what I mean. Yeah, there you go. Look how in the way that is of the battery. See that? That ain't gonna work. But this AIO over here, it might actually not even fit in the frame with these. No, it doesn't fit in the frame with these stupid Audi plugs. But you can see it's gonna sit like this, and look at the bottom there. There's nothing there. There's no USB port there, right? So the battery will easily slide in the bottom part there. So yeah, this AIO, as long as it's durable, is a really good option for these 2S builds because it allows you to use pretty much like any frame, right? If you decide you want to use the Mobula 7 V3 frame, which is an okay frame, you don't need to go this crazy. You can try like the HGLRC Specter, or probably any other AIO that just has the regular USB setup, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a lot of things about this Mobula 7 V4 frame that I really like. The main thing that I don't like about the Mobula 7 V3 frame is that the ducts are very deep, and if you put a 1002, 802, a 2mm tall statored motor on here, the propellers almost hit these standoffs. Well, here, I can actually show you on the other frame. Yeah, here you go. So here's the problem. See how the tips of the propellers are completely annihilated? Hold on. Come on, you jackass. There we go. See how the tips of the props are completely destroyed? That's from them hitting. You can even see the marks in those little supports in the corners there. You see the little marks there? They're hitting right there. This is too deep. This frame is there. You can really see it. See how deep the frame is? This frame is meant for an 0803 or a 1003 or something like that. A taller motor. It does clear, but then when you turtle mode, and it makes upwards thrust, that pushes the blades of the propeller down, and then the tips of the blades of the propellers hit, and it gets all mangled. And I mean, it's not like the end of the world. You can see it. It's doing it on every single propeller. It's not the end of the world, but it's also not great. Like it's just not a good thing. And so, yeah, I'm super interested to try a couple of different frames. I tried the Meteor 75 frame. I think it might be called the Meteor 75X frame. And it lasted one battery before the little supports down here above the battery broke. So I definitely don't recommend the Meteor 75 2S frame. If you're in a pinch, you could run this frame, but you would absolutely want to beef these upper battery supports. There's two of them up with E6000, like I showed you earlier in the stream. That's going to be an absolute necessity. But there's other stuff that I don't love about this frame. This frame is kind of one of the reasons that the AIO broke. It's mainly my fault for soldering the wires facing out, but still, this is not the best frame option for a 2S 75mm TinyWhoop. It's also very difficult to get to the USB port with this frame. So skip this frame. Stick with the Mobula 7 V4 if you go with this BetaFPV AIO, or if you're going with a different AIO, the Mobula 7 V3 frame. And then to get around that problem with the motor height, if you're running a smaller motor, buy yourself a BetaFPV Meteor 65 Air frame, and it comes with little motor risers in it. And you can run those motor risers, and that'll fix that problem. It's not the best idea because they weigh something, but and I don't know what you're going to do about screws. You're going to have to find longer screws. But yeah, there's some options for you. 2S build will be getting fixed probably this weekend. We'll dive back into it and get it back on its little fetuses. That's the plural of feet, right? Fetuses? It must be. Boy, the English language is something else, isn't it? Or is it feet eyes? It must be feet eyes. Okay. Hang on. I need 1 second. It looks like an actual hand grenade went off over here right now. I gotta take this bag, dump it out, zip this closed, put it down here, take this bag, dump it out, and then I can take all these bags, ram them over there, and then I can finish up your daily dose of Aaron Ciotti's ball bag. Mailbag, not ball bag. That's something totally different. All right, there we go. Those are in there. These are in here. These are here. These are here. And they all go happily in a little newbie drone case. This is where I'm keeping all my bags of props I'm using for TinyWhoops nowadays. All right, awesome. Extra little XT30, which might be really nice for that Tiny Hawk 2. If I choose to go that route. And then this is all the stuff from the F4. And I shall put it in the pile of 2S walk snail goodies. There we go. The oh-so-awaited box from Quadmula. This build is going to be great. This is going to be getting me back into 3-inch outdoor obliterations. Maybe we'll start this build this Friday. No promises, but these are two Siren F3 splits. They better be splits. Yep. Siren F3 splits. And then I got a bunch of extra replacement parts in here. And I actually, unfortunately, forgot to get a couple of things, so I do need to do another order on their website. But, yeah, they have some really, really, really cool stuff on their site. Ooh, that's a legit sticker sheet right there. Hell yeah. Ooh! Their graphic designer's got it going on. Yeah, this is super exciting. So the extra stuff I got is basically like some extra arms. They have some conical M2 screws that I've really not been able to find anywhere, so I got a bunch of them. They come in these very cool little test tube looking things. A couple of extra arms, extra base plate, extra camera mounting plates, some TPU arm protectors, TPU antenna holder, a little GoPro mount that I'll never use. Never say never. And then, yeah, just some extra rando stuff. I think this is another one of the camera holders. But yeah, this is awesome. I'm thrilled that I'm finally able to get my hands on some Quadmula stuff. People have been talking Quadmula stuff up for a while, and I've been wanting to try them, but it just has been out of stock, perpetually out of stock. But yeah, now they're in stock, and that's pretty awesome. Love it. Thank you, Quadmula. I'm not gonna like open these up or piece them together. Interesting packaging. I'll say this: the packaging better not have been what was slowing this down. We've been screaming and yelling for Siren F3s, I feel like, for almost a year. And it's, yeah, I sincerely hope that the packaging wasn't the... there's the end of the mailbag, my friends. Wasn't the holdup. Okay. Curtis Hayes says, can you post your HDZero microphone Amazon referral link in the description or the chat? I don't even know... I don't even know whose account I bought the damn thing off of. If I go to Amazon and I search for Tiny mic. Oh, yeah, right. It's going to find these stupid little record your cat tiny mics. That's not what I'm looking for. You would think, though, man, it's just this ridiculous little setup over and over and over again. What is it? 1/8 inch? Tiny, I think it's 1/8 inch. Maybe that'll narrow it down a little bit for us. Let's see. When I originally did the search, there were only 3 pages of search results. No, this is like 1 million pages. What the hell did I search for? You know what? I probably put the order through here. I don't know that this is the best of the microphones either. This mic, it's just I just kind of picked one. To be honest, though, there might not be much of a difference between mics this small and cheap. But if you absolutely want, there we go. VizGiz. VizGiz is what it's called. And there's a link to it. And then if I hit this, and then that, and then this, I can come in. Oh, it doesn't let me change the, I thought for sure it would let me change the description. No, I gotta wait until afterwards to change the description. But I did just put it in the chat, so there you go. There's an affiliate link in the chat for the VizGiz 2-pack of wee little microphones. Oh yeah, that's right. They're considered. They get called PS4 controller microphones a lot, which is weird. I guess maybe the PS4 controller doesn't have a mic. The PS5 controller does. I wonder if you search for this. Was that the search that I did? No, it's not. I don't know what the search string was, but you can, on Amazon, there are some other little tiny mics. If you're as addicted to testing shit as I am, feel free to not get the VizGiz and get one of the other ones, and then let us know how you like it. We can even... No, I'm not going to go that far down the rabbit hole. I was going to say we can compare results, but we're not doing that. Scotty Scott says, on my Mobula 7 V4, when the little braces broke, I just added a chunk of foam to fill the space in the frame. I'd also have the side effect of cushioning the blows to the frame and the USB port. That's a really good idea. I like that a lot. Because the bottoms, I'm assuming that you brace that foam up against the bottom of the posts that the screws go into. There's like a little round pad on the bottom there, and then the post kind of sticks up. Whoop! And assuming that's what she said. Rybread says, thank you for the streams. You're certainly welcome. My son is starting to fly in the sim, and I just let him crash around so far. He can fly okay in level mode. Any tips to get the kid more confident on the sticks? I think you're saying that he's 5 years old. My experience with children begins at the age of 12. That is when I met Maggie, and that was how old Maggie's youngest was at that time. So I have no experience with 5-year-olds, unfortunately. But if when Azalea was 12, I was doing that, I would try to figure out how to make a game out of the simulator, right? The simulator is pretty not fun, right? It's not a video game. It's a simulator. It's not fun on purpose. So yeah, I would try to figure out a way to make a game out of it. I don't know how I would do that, but that's where my head kind of goes. I would also recommend that you get him out of level mode as soon as possible. Get him into acro mode as soon as you can. It's going to be very hard at first, but kids pick things up so fast. So if you can just... I would say if you can get him into that simulator for 2 hours total, it'd be good to go. I would say do bursts, do 10-minute, 15-minute bursts, and then get them off of there. And then, next day or later that day or something like that, like, hey, let's do another little, if you can make a game out of it, maybe the game is like, maybe you stand there with a goddamn stopwatch or your phone or whatever, and the game is like, how long can you stay up in the air without crashing, right? Yeah. And for every 5 minutes they get sugar, because sugar is the only thing that you need to motivate children. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm not a great. I was about to say I'm not a great father, but Maggie tells me that I would have been an amazing father, and I'm really good with the kids. But I don't know. I have a feeling I would have had a nervous breakdown and jumped off a fucking rooftop. But hey, that's just me. So yeah, that's what comes to my mind. Hopefully that helps. I'm not sure if it does, but hopefully it does. Parkour Guy says, I'm starting to understand when you say micros is less bullshit and repair than 5-inch. In some ways it is, for sure. In other ways it's not. 5-inch electronics are way more... they're basically way better right out of the box. 5-inch electronics, you have much less of a chance of doing an entire build and then you plug power into it and it explodes. That typically doesn't happen on 5-inch rigs. So you'll get up in the air, usually pretty trouble-free. Where 5-inch rigs become a complete pain in the ass is when you crash, it hits really hard and it bends or breaks propellers on most crashes. And so you spend a lot of time changing props. And then you hit even harder, and now it breaks arms. And like with micros, the number of bent, broken props is much less. The number of broken arms is much less. But there are other problems with micros. They're not as serviceable. Like when you go to repair a 5-inch rig, everything is bigger and it's kind of easier to work on. When you go to repair a micro, it's a complete pain in the ass. And one of the reasons that I hate working on stuff is I hate working on micros. But yeah, I took a long break from flying 5-inch rigs outside of work, outside of gig work. And when I recently went back to it and flew 3 5-inch sessions, I was immediately reminded of, yeah, it's not all unicorn farts and rainbows. It's different. There are different things. It's super interesting to kind of see that. But there are things about 5-inch rigs that are way easier. So it's a mix. TinyWhoops have completely spoiled me in that I can build them super quick, super easily. They're very inexpensive. There's not so many options. So like the analysis paralysis is a lot less. And you can fly them absolutely all the time with no commuting, right? You can fly them in your fucking house when it's raining out, when it's hot out, when it's cold out, it doesn't matter. So like the ultimate, I can't believe I'm saying this. If you told me a few years ago that I would be saying this, I would tell you that you're high on bath salts. In terms of like, I want to get into FPV to fly. What I want to do is fly. TinyWhoops, man. Doesn't matter what is happening outside, you can fly. There aren't tons of options, so you don't spend as much time going back and forth about the 14th different 2306 that you've looked at. When you crash, nothing breaks. You never change propellers. It's amazing. The amount of flight time that you get with TinyWhoops compared to everything else is ridiculous. And so if what you love about FPV is flying, it's TinyWhoops. Hands fucking down, right? 3-inch rigs outside, 5-inch rigs outside, super fun, super fucking fun. A 5-inch build, a properly dialed in 5-inch build will, you know, it's super funny. It's the complete opposite of TinyWhoops. TinyWhoops shrink the world around you. And you're a member of you're a cast member in Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and you get to fly around a normal size space that you're used to seeing from 6 feet up with your eyeballs, or 5'8" or whatever. And now you're tiny, and you can so it shrinks the world in this really cool way. 5-inch rigs, you become Superman, and you can hurtle across a 100-yard field like it's nothing. And so 5-inch rigs shrink. TinyWhoops expand the world around you. 5-inch rigs shrink the world. You can accelerate and travel faster than you've pretty much ever been able to. And then 3-inch micros are somewhere in between. 3-inch micros, they do shrink the world still. It's still that 5-inch experience. But yeah, it's super interesting, like that yin and yang of TinyWhoops versus kind of everything else. And there's not one that's better than another. What's cool about it is, like, if you're burned out of flying TinyWhoops, start flying 5-inch rigs. It's a whole different thing. And flip that around the other way. If you've been flying a lot of 5-inch rigs and you're kind of tired of just going to another parking lot and smashing into concrete, start flying TinyWhoops. It's a whole different thing. And the skills that you get from one transfer over to the other about 90%. Like 90% of the skills that you get from either or will transfer. Certainly not 100%. There are some serious adjustments that you have to make to, like, your pacing and just how you... you'll see. You'll see. But either one is incredibly fun. And everybody should have the experience with either one. Nope. Nope. Cloudhopper says, I have 7 2G4 builds. Good on you, my friend. Currently have 7 more spares. I have a bunch of Runcam Nano 3 spares too. Cloudhopper knows seven's a big number. But again, look, I'm not confident that we will ever have an AIO as good as the 2G4. So having enough of them for the next 10 years, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Parkour Guy says, I have a so if I have brand new batteries, 300 mAh Tet2, and the voltage drops really quick, but I've set the actual voltage correct, is there another battery voltage setting for sag? I bet there is. Not really, no. I mean, battery sag is from the electrical system either pulling too hard on the battery, because like maybe you've got your PID set too high or something like that, or maybe you have a walk snail VTX in there that's really hungry, or the batteries are just fucked. Like the internal resistance of the batteries is really high. That can happen pretty quickly. Like if you have a rig where the PIDs are way too high and it's oscillating, that is going to hammer the hell out of your batteries. And if you run, so like basically, or if you build a rig that discharges batteries in like 1 minute or a minute and a half, that is going to abuse those batteries, and it's going to really wreck those batteries very quickly. There's only so much punishment these batteries can put up with. And if you are discharging that battery in a minute or a minute and a half, it's going to get so hot that it's going to get damaged internally. If you've got a rig where the PIDs are way too high and it's oscillating, it can discharge a battery in like 30 seconds. So the amount of damage that like a rig that has not enough filtering or too much PID gain can do to batteries is kind of wild. So yeah, if there's any chance that happened, even though those batteries are like if you take a fresh set of like these fresh set of 260s and I put them on a rig that's oscillating, I can wreck them like pretty much right away. So if that has happened to those batteries might just be cooked. That rig might be cooked. If that, try backing your PIDs way off, see if it helps. That's the easiest thing to do. Grab that master multiplier and just move it way down. Move it down all the way to like 0.4, 0.5, and see if that helps the problem. If that helps the problem, then you know that your PIDs are overactive wherever you previously had it. And yeah, there's your first troubleshoot. But yeah, I mean, there's no setting in Betaflight that's like, make the battery sag less. Or anything like that. There's also no setting in Betaflight that's like, don't hammer my battery so hard. It's your filters, it's your PIDs, it's stuff like that. So yeah, that's about all I can think of. 1B674H says, if you had to do it again and had to buy a 20x20 stack for the Grinderino, what would it be? I've broken $100 AIOs in 2 months. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but at the moment, I think the move for 20x20 stacks is the Speedy Bee ones. They're so cheap that if they break, you're not out a lot of money, but they seem to be incredibly durable. So yeah, at the moment, if I was going to build a Grinderino, it would be on the Speedy Bee $60 or whatever the hell it is, $70, $60 stacks. They've got Bluetooth built in, which is super handy. People are running them on 5-inch rigs and they're not blowing up there. So on a Grinderino, they should last forever. And they're actually in stock in places. 3 things that you can't really say about many FPV components today. So yeah, Flying Carrot says, sorry if I missed, you talked about it, but do you have any feedback on the Vision 41S? I did talk about it. It's very similar to the 2S builds that I've been doing. They're great. I don't know why more people aren't talking about them. Curtis Hayes says, if you want more info, just rewind back. I talked for 5 minutes about it. Curtis Hayes says, Nick Burns' broken arm on his second flight. Said it needs to be bigger carbon fiber arms. He nicked the camera too, so not great. That's a shame. Talking about I forget the name of the rig, but we were talking about it earlier in the stream. Parkour Guy says, run it at 2S for science, maybe a fund. I haven't had much luck with the funds lately. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, probably not. I bought it for 1S. If I like it and it's good and it holds up well, and I do another 2S build, I'll probably get another one. Not on a frame that's going to pull the battery up, right? Because I can't use this in my current 2S walk snail build. But yeah, down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if I buy another one of these. And maybe if I'm doing like a toothpick or something like that, maybe we run it on 2S. Rybread says, is 2G4 or BetaFPV Cross plus MO3 lighter? A lot less carbon on the F4 carbon, but the 2G4 doesn't need the external VTX. Thank you. I think you mean PCB material. There's no carbon fiber in these PCBs. There's, what are the layers made of? Maybe they are carbon layers. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The 2G4 is ever so slightly lighter because it doesn't have to have the external board and the wires going to it, and it's much less complicated. Look, 2G4 for freestyle, BetaFPV Cross for racing. For racing, you have to have a good VTX. The 2G4 does not have a good VTX for racing. The good is for racing is that it doesn't exceed 25 milliwatts. The 2G4 does. When you put the 2G4 into 25 milliwatts, it's actually like 50 or 60 or 70 or 40 milliwatts. And for racing, that's no good because there's multiple pilots up in the air at once. So yeah, but for freestyle, that shit don't matter. So 2G4 for freestyle, easier build, everything's built in, lighter weight. I think it's actually more durable. But then for racing, BetaFPV Cross for sure. Or I think the Air 65 might be accurate enough that people are using it for racing. Don't quote me on that, though. I don't follow the racing world. Tiny Shark FPV says, I replaced my Mobula 6 2024 frame with the Meteor 65 Air frame, and now the USB port is touching the battery. Kind of flies fine. Would I run into some problems would I run into some problems and just rotate the AIO? You can rotate the AIO. I don't like doing that. But you certainly can. Having the battery banging into the USB port is bad. That is basically going to hard mount that AIO. The other problem is going to be in crashes. You're going to have like something hitting into that USB port. If that USB port breaks, the AIO is totally worthless. So yeah, to be honest, I mean, for you to rotate the AIO, you're going to have to pull the majority of the build apart. If you're going to do that much work, just go to Newbie Drone and get a Cockroach V3 and a Cockroach Light AF and swap it over to those frames. That Meteor 65 frame with those Mobula 6 motors sucks. And that frame, that Meteor 65 airframe is not going to last very long. So it's going to break anyway. You might as well snag a much better and lighter frame for that setup there. That will also... The Meteor 65 airframe has moved the ducts up higher, and the Happy Model motors are shorter, and so it's hard on the frame. It's also kind of hard on the motors. The Cockroach frames have the duct pulled down a little bit, and on those Happy Model motors, the propeller is gonna rotate in there properly. That's gonna make the frame last longer. It's gonna make the props last longer. It's gonna make the motors last longer. So yeah, that's the right way to fix that problem that you're having there. But like I said, with those Happy Model motors, that Meteor 65 airframe will not last very long. I was only getting like 5 to 10 batteries out of them before they would break. So yeah, there you go. Dave S says, so where that big weight was desoldered is where you'd split off and make the homemade V antenna. Yes, exactly. But that braiding has been removed already from these antennas. That's why you have to cut the active element to get access to more of that braiding. This is in reference to the the antennas. I tried to hold it together, but I just happened to see somebody say try lobster wrap in the chat. I can't believe I'm that far behind it. Holy shit, it's midnight already. Oh my god, what the hell happened? Okay, I gotta go fast through the chat here. Henry Bennett with a £9.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Henry. He says, how do you decide batteries to fit TinyWhoop frames? I got 12 for my Mobula 6 and they don't even fit. Never do super chats, but your videos have helped me through from day one, so thank you. Thank you, Henry. Very, very cool of you. How do you decide batteries to fit in TinyWhoop frames? I've just tested everything, so I just kind of know. For you, how do you decide? You hit my Discord and you ask in general nonsense, or you do a super chat and ask me live on a stream. That's the easiest way for you to do it. Link to my Discord is over on CiottiFPV.com. And then, yeah, general nonsense is an awesome spot where most people hang out, and you'll get lots of good answers there. So, yeah, if you're still here, tell me what batteries you have. And you said you have a Mobula 6, so I'm assuming you have the regular Happy Model Mobula 6 frame. Here's what I can tell you. The 300 mAh folded cell BT 2.0 batteries fit in pretty much all of the 65 millimeter frames. The 65 millimeter frames that you want, though, are the Newbie Drone Cockroach V3. All of these frames I'm about to recommend, these batteries will fit in. Cockroach 65 V3, Cockroach Light AF frame. Buy them both. They're $4 each. Buy them both. Those are the two best frames in my opinion, especially for a Happy Model build with the shorter Happy Model 0702s or 0802s. The other frames that are good that will also work are the Mobula 6 2024 frame. Nothing wrong with that one. The Meteor 65 Air frame. It's okay. I prefer the Mobula 6 2024 frame over it, but still an okay frame. And these batteries will fit. I thought there was one more. Isn't there one more frame? The old school Meteor 65 frame from BetaFPV. That is a good choice. That is arguably the most durable frame ever. It's a little bit heavier than all these other ones. I guess that's it. I think there's one more frame that I'm forgetting about. But look, the two Cockroach frames are the best for sure. Since you're paying in pounds, though, it might be hard for you to get your hands on those. So the Mobula 6 2024 frame and the Meteor 65 Air frame. Those are probably the ones that you can easily get in Europe. And there's nothing wrong with those frames. They're not quite as good as the Cockroach V3 or the Cockroach Light AF, but they're pretty damn good, and they will fit 300 mAh folded cell BT 2.0 batteries. If you bought any batteries that are not these, you want to get these anyway. These perform so much better than every other battery out there that this is actually a good thing that you made this mistake, because I think you bought not bad, but I think you bought batteries that won't perform anywhere near as well as these. So this is just your lesson, the hard lesson. You want these batteries. BT 2.0 folded cell. A bunch of people make these batteries. BetaFPV calls them lava. BetaFPV lava 300s. Weebleed just calls them folded cell. Folded cell 300 mAh BT 2.0. Tattoo makes them, and I think they just call them folded cell 300 mAh BT 2.0. They look like that. And there's a bunch of other spots. You can get the Dogcom versions. TinyWhoop has them. TinyWhoop 300 mAh folded cell BT 2.0. These are the batteries you want, and these are the batteries that will fit in that Mobula 6 and pretty much all other 65 millimeter builds. Welcome to FPV, my friend. This will not be the last time that you buy something that just doesn't work. It's maddening beyond the bounds of rational thought, but once you have it all figured out, you'll feel like a fucking hero. Boy, does that take a while, though. Stick with it. It's worth it. It's worth it to stick with it through all of the insanity. I promise. Being able to fly is something that not many people get to experience. So, thank you for the support, Henry. I really do appreciate it, my man. King Dingling says, can we unsolder and shorten our ORT micro Vs? Yes. They're not going to perform as well, though, if you do that. And it's going to be a pain in the ass to do it. I'll tell you right now. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. You'll just lose a little bit of performance. Parkour Guy says, fun fact, the protein found in shrimp used in real shrimp. I can't believe I got you guys perpetuating the madness now. used in real shrimp wrap insulates insulates the signal better. There we go. It keeps the signal in. That's what we want. CMYK says, yeah, getting the audio from the flight is wild. Love that I can now have full conversations while flying, which is a sign of my progress. Love it. Hell yeah, that's true. Shane and Mindy Hale, FPV RC, says, want to build my first whoop. Someone has given me tips, but they involved using parts from my existing whoops. You have a complete whoop build video that rips. I have so many. I have so many live streams of me building TinyWhoops and talking about what they do better than the last build that I did. If you go to my channel here and you click on this little tiny magnifying glass here, if you want to fly something inside, it's going to be a 65 millimeter build. So you can just search for 65 millimeter, and it's going to give you a ton of different options. Walk snail builds, a bunch of walk snail stuff up top here. 65 millimeters versus 75 millimeters. More walk snail stuff. I've been doing a lot of walk snail stuff recently. You're going to have to scroll a little bit. Here you go. 65 millimeter frame torture testing. I'll certainly talk about a bunch of them there. Freestyle Friday. No, this is Betaflight setup stuff. But yeah, there's here you go. Building a cinematic analog 65 millimeter tiny whoop. Don't do this though. Definitely don't do this fractal 65 frame. It's not the way. There's a much better setup if you want a cinematic analog 65 millimeter tiny whoop. There's very few uses of that, but yeah, lots of good stuff. I'm looking for like a straight up ultimate freestyle tiny whoop build. 65. No, that's walk snail again. Search for 65 millimeter analog. That's what you want to do. Yeah, there you go. It's still pulling all this walk snail stuff. 65 millimeter builds are pretty straightforward though. You're gonna buy a I mean, to be honest, at this point, just buy a beta here you go. Just buy a BetaFPV Air 65 if you're not super into like upgrading and replacing everything and custom tuning and all that nonsense. The BetaFPV Air 65 is phenomenal. If you do want to customize and upgrade and whatnot, get the Mobula 6 2024. Both of those are like good to go out of the box. The BetaFPV rig is not nearly as upgradable. You can upgrade it. It's just way more work. The motors are direct soldered. The receiver is external and uses like a specific plug. There's just some things that make it less upgradable, less easily upgradable. The Mobula 6 2024, it's great out of the box, but the motors are plugs, so you can just buy another set of motors and just plug them directly in, which is awesome. And yeah, both great rigs. It is not really necessary anymore to go bananas with totally custom tiny whoop builds now that those two bind and flies are available. But if you want a rig that you can put 40,000 kV 0702s, which define the word rip, it's the Mobula 6 2024. And it's unplugging a set of motors, removing 12 screws, and reversing that process, and away you go. So yeah. Porky Chop FPV says, is the BetaFPV video plug 0.8 JST plug or something different? I'd like to get a few for different cameras. Thanks. I don't have a great... I don't know. I don't know the difference between JST 0.8, 1.0, 1.25. Hold on. I can... I know how I can figure it out, though. Let me see something real quick. So this is a motor with a JST... All right, so here's what I can tell you. It's bigger than the motor plugs. I'm pretty sure that the motor plugs are JST 1.25, and it is... Oh, wait a second. No. It's a 4-bay. Hold on. I think it's JST 1.25. Yarr! It's not. It's not JST 1.25. So there are two different plugs. All right. Newbie Drone uses JST 1.0 plugs on their motors, which are smaller. Regular TinyWhoop motors use JST 1.25, which is a little bit bigger. This plug is not there. There are then two different like JST plugs. One of them has the pins a little bit closer together, and one of them has the pins a little bit farther apart. The BetaFPV plug is the style that has the pins closer together, but the plug is pretty much the same size as JST 1.25. I don't know what it is. I've never really been able to figure it out. It's so weird. The JST plugs are so weird that I just can't. Yeah. But that's what this is. It is not the same plug as JST 1.25, but it's pretty much the same size. It's also not. I'm pretty sure this is not JST 1.0 either. Do I have a set of JST 1.0s floating around? All I really need is a Newbie Drone motor, and then I can look at that. Come on now. Here we go. Here's a set of Newbie Drone motors. Let's see. Real quick. Let me take a look. Come on. Yeah, here it is. All right, let me see. Yarr! Oh shit, it might be. It might be. Hold on. Oh, okay. I've been overcomplicating things. Don't quote me on this, but I think it is a JST 1.0. I think this is a JST 1.0. That would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah, it would be crazy for there to be a third kind of plug. I think it's JST 1.0. I think it is. Because it looks super similar to these 3-port. It's a 4-port plug. So I can't just perfectly match it up. But boy, does it just look like a one extra plug over these JST 1.0 Newbie Drone plugs that they use. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm going to say it's a JST 1.0. It's a 4-pin JST 1.0 is my final answer. Ciotti was wrong, and he cost someone money. Yay! I hate that guy. He's such a jerk. I'm pretty sure it's a JST 1.0. Get in there! Get in there. There it is. Stop asking good questions, guys. I gotta get caught up on chat and then do some Specter work over here, yo. Although we already talked about the Specter, we talked about the plan. You know, the work is going to be me desoldering the BT 2.0 from the X12 and the camera, soldering them up to that AIO, and then screwing a bunch of screws in. I had 6 batteries in the live stream from the other day, and I put a new TinyWhoop gate up, and then we didn't fly on Monday, and I felt really bad about that. I hate when I put 6 batteries in the title and then I don't fly. So I'm going to try to answer some of these questions while I'm flying. I also really want to hit this new gate and see what it's like. So yeah, stand by here, friends. Stand by, friendos. I'm going to put a rig up in the air. I've also had a bunch of batteries that have been sitting here charged. We're going to fly this indestructible rig, which is a set of 0802 33,000 kV motors that I swapped the bells on to iGal bells. It's a really fun rig to fly, and I drilled out some of these 1210 propellers, and so we're going to see if they're even remotely balanced enough to fly this damn thing. I've been meaning to to put this thing up in the air for the last couple of days. But I don't think that these motors are going to be spinning in the right direction. So I got to hook this up to Betaflight real quick like. That'll give me a chance to dive back into the chat, though. Render says, what camera can you even put on a tiny lifter like the Cockroach? Just the Newbie Drone BI, because the tiny lifters are based around a TPU camera mount setup for the Insta360 Go 2. And that mount only works on the Goober canopy. And the only camera that I've found that fits in the... Well, no, you can technically run the Caddx Ant camera in the Goober canopy, but it doesn't really look all that well. If you're going to do a Newbie Drone build, use the BI camera. It, for whatever reason, looks better through the kind of milky Newbie Drone OSD. So yeah, on a tiny lifter build with the Newbie Drone AIO, you're going to run the Newbie Drone camera. There are some cams that'll fit in the Goober canopy. I just don't remember them offhand. All right, start and spin. One of these guys is hitting something. Motor 1 is fine. Is it? Yeah, motor 1's fine. Motor 2 is the one that's self-clearancing at the moment. Holy shit, these motors are all spinning the right direction. Happy days. What are you hitting on? Are you hitting on the... Whatever. It's self-clearancing. It'll be fine. All right. The motors were spinning in the right direction. Look at me. This is a rig that's on one of the stupidly lightweight antennas, like I showed you guys how to build in the beginning of this live stream. This is a little bit of a heavier build because of the motors mainly. It's also on a V3 Cockroach frame, which is a little bit heavier than the Lite AF. Wow, this is a fat little bastard. 20.35 grams. Jeez. But these 802 33,000s make a bunch of power, and it will not fly the way you would think a 20-gram build should fly. As you're about to see. Well, let's check these hand-drilled 12x10s. Motor 4 is now not spinning. What happened, Motor 4? Everything was fine a minute ago. What is your deal, little buddy? There it goes. All right, so if you've got props that are hitting the ducts on these things, flip it into turtle mode. When you go into turtle mode, normally the propellers bend up to send thrust down. In turtle mode, the propellers bend down, and that'll make them rub harder on whatever they're rubbing on. Arm it. There. Just hit it full throttle a couple times, and it'll self-clearance. And now it'll be fine. You don't want props rubbing like that, because they are sending, like, they are hitting something, and that's sending like a spike into the gyro, which is bad. CMYK finally got his too. His package from Quadmilla. Tiny Shark says, "What action cam do you use on your 3-inch builds?" Insta. Yeah, these props are not well balanced. This is the problem with hand drilling propellers out. You see all that jello? It's not even jello. It's just straight up like shaking. Insta360 Go 2. Or I have a bunch of builds with RunCam hybrids, which is this really cool. Oh, this thing's getting hot. Oh no, it's calming down. Hey, buddy boy. Yeah, it's a really cool double lens setup. It's got a regular FPV camera and a really decent 4K cam. It's a little old. It's a little on the older side, admittedly, but it ain't bad. So all that blurriness that you're getting is from the props being out of balance, because I drilled them out from 1mm to 1.5mm. And yeah, it's really hard to do that it's really hard to do that and drill straight through. Typically the drill bit, even I stepped up. I went from 1 millimeter to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. And even taking small little steps there, the drill bit will like grab one side a little bit harder, and then like as you do it more and more, it'll, and you can actually see it on like one of the propellers, like the hole in the top, you can see it's not perfectly centered. It's just off a little bit. But I did this for the motor testing, and in the motors tab, it doesn't matter if they're balanced or not, because it's not running the PID loop. It flew pretty good on 1210s, but we're going to move it over to the only set of 1.2 inch props that exist that are molded 1.5 millimeter, which is the Gemfan 1208s. They're kind of hard to find, but if you look hard enough, you can find Gemfan 1208s in 1.5 millimeter motor shaft. And man, they are not bad. I don't like those props on 702 motors. They're an old school prop. All the old school props are kind of heavy. So on a 702, it's kind of too heavy. Owie, motherfucker. But on these 802 33,000s, they're actually totally fine. Because it's a bigger motor, 802 versus 702, right? It can handle the heavier propeller and the fact that it's a tri-blade. And so I have those guys right here. We are just going to whack these on. And then later on, we can whack them off. No? No. All right. That's fine. You do you. Oh, man, I just scratched the shit out of that bell. That's annoying. It's okay. It's covered up by the propeller. Striker says, high on bath salts. Nice. I'm crying. CMYK says, 100% agree, and every single rig is identical, so nearly zero Betaflight setup, too. What the hell are we talking about? What's that in reference to? Identical, so nearly zero Betaflight setup. Is that in reference to bind and flies, maybe? Striker says, TinyWhoops give me so much more stick time. If I was flying my 3.5 half as hard as my TinyWhoop, would be 10 motors deep by now. Yeah, for sure. I think this is, yeah. Yeah, this is in reference to, like, whoop, you fly whoops a lot. Striker also says, now I see what people mean when they say sim 100%, whoops 90%, 5-inch 70%. Yeah. Kevin Sumner says, Castle Crash in 7 days. Are you ready? Hey, speaking of Castle Crash, I meant to mention this earlier. Kevin has put together a really cool fundraiser on GoFundMe to get power to the East Wind Castle, which will just make Castle Crash a little bit better. So yeah, if you got a couple extra bucks, throw it their way. Here comes the link to the GoFundMe in the chat. If you plan on going to Castle Crash and you got an extra couple of dollars, throw it on in here. I don't think they'll have it done for this Castle Crash, but probably the next one. If you're going to Castle Crash, I will see you there. I'm super excited. 1 week. Jesus. I have to... I keep forgetting to book a hotel room, but that's okay. It'll be fine. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I'm sure we'll be all right. This battery just got its ass handed to it in a minute and a half. Let me make sure that I didn't over-discharge it. Nah, 3.83. We good. All right. Let me look at another question and then fly another battery. Now we've got these 1208 tri-blades on here. That's what they look like. They're an okay prop. All right, I need to put these somewhere. Striker says, if I use spacers to make Happy Model motors as tall, how much weight would I gain? If it's less than a gram, I would do it. I'm not sure. And I don't have any of them handy. I'm not sure what they weigh. Does anybody happen to have a set of those Meteor 65 Air risers that they can weigh real quick? Gert Jan X says, when are you going to build a new 2.5-inch drone again? 2.5-inch? At some point, I'm going to do a 2.5-inch toothpick, but first is going to be the 3-inch... the 3-inch quad Mula sirens. So it won't be super soon, but it's gonna happen at some point. Oh God, sorry, buddy. I thought I blipped the throttle enough to get a little bit more elevation than that. Oh shit! He pushed me into the goddamn cube. So here it is. Here's the Fat Boy rig, Fat Boy indestructible rig on. Ooh, we just got in there. On 1208 tri-blades. Whoa! That was a big old desync. Man, this thing feels every bit of those 20 grams dry. But then it's got a whole bunch of power, which is fun. But boy, it feels heavy. The motors are heavy, the propellers are heavy, the whole build is heavy. Well, no, the whole build is normal, but then the motors and the propellers are heavy, and that's what makes this thing as chonky as it is. But when you hammer it, it goes. So this is you know what's funny? This is almost like flying a 75 in the house, but not as bad. Oh, man, it is. This thing is chewing through batteries. And that core temperature warning is a little weird. Let me back the PIDs off to see if that's what's doing it. I have a lot of PID gain in here. I don't have that much PID gain in here. What the hell? It's a heavy rig. It is a heavy build. This is not these motors. I built these motors for 75 millimeter testing. I didn't really plan on using them for anything else, but then I remembered that there was this one set of. I'm sorry, I've been saying 1608 propellers. I think it's 1208. 1208 propellers that are drilled 1.5 mil. Yeah, there is something going on with this. Hold on, let me spin each motor up and see if one of these motors is vibrating really hard. That one's clean. That one's clean. That one's clean. Oh, that one's in bad shape. Motor number 3. Motor number 3 has quite a bit of vibration. So that's either the motor or the propeller. I'm not going to troubleshoot it tonight because it's already late and we got to get work done. But yeah, there you go. I didn't fly 6, but I flew 2. You got to fly the extra 4, but you should fly all 6. Wait, no, that's a discharge battery. Get on it, people. Get on it. Don't let me down. Fly 6 batteries every day. It'll make your headaches go away. Or it'll create them. Either or. What the hell's going on here? Get in there. Get over there, Lewis. There we go. Don't do bath salts, friends. You don't, but if ever there was a day where you were like, you know what I might do today? Don't do it. Took a weird turn. Porky Chop says, it's all good. 1.0 or 1.25, I'll just get both since I have both brands. Thanks so much. You're certainly welcome, brother. Levster says, sorry to bother, just wake up here at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I have a question. I have a 45 gram whoop. I hope that's with battery. 1002 2100 kV, and I have prop wash. How can I fix it? More D gain will help. So take the very first slider in Betaflight and move it from 1.0 up to 1.25. If that's not enough, move it up to 1.4, and then take the second slider, the P&I slider, and move that up to 1.1. If that's still not enough, go 1.6, 1.3. If that's not enough, 1.8, 1.5. See what I'm getting at here? There's a ratio that you want to maintain there. And that should help. If that still doesn't help, you need to make the rig lighter or you need more powerful motors. That is the other way to fix prop wash. So yeah, the tuning is free, so give it a shot. the better way though is to get a more powerful motor. 45 grams. I only ever weigh my stuff dry. I want to see what 45 grams is though. So the lightweight 75. Brother, you are heavy. 45 grams is heavy. This Mobula 7.1S with a motor swap is 34 grams. So your all-up weight is a big part of the problem here. Those motors are okay. They're not the best, but yeah, you are like 10 grams too heavy, which is a ton. You know, think about it in percentages. 35 grams to 45 grams. What's that? Like a 30-something% increase? That's too much. So lightening that rig up is going to be a definite way to help things. To give you some ideas, Mobula 7 V4 frame is very light. The Mobula 6 canopy with RunCam Nano 3 is the lightest weight camera and canopy setup. This ORT Micro V antenna is very lightweight, very durable, works really well. And then for motors, an 802 motor at like 25,000 or 27,000 kV absolutely rips on a 1.6-inch build like this. Those things will save you a ton of weight. And I mean, you'll end up with something that's like 35, 36 grams with more power. The problem with those 1002s is the kV. 21,000 kV is very low. You want like 25, 27,000. That's going to make a huge difference. So there you go. There's a full thing. Apache Smoke Wounded Snipers in the house. What's up, homie? How are you? Striker says, tried the Meteor 75 Air. Nope, they didn't send me one, and I'm not going to buy one. It's a full gram lighter than the V4. Yeah, you can get that gram back. I think I'm going to get that gram back on this rig that I was planning on building tonight, but yeah. Shannon Mindy says, Mobula 6 2024, that's the one. Thanks, brother. You're certainly welcome. You'll love it. It's a great rig. If you want to research it a little bit, I also tested that on the channel. Just click the thing and do the thing. Mobula 6 2024. Shit, I even compared it to the... How is it that the one spot of this live stream that they're pulling this thumbnail from is the one spot where I played West Coast Swing and we were talking about dancing? That's the most ridiculous thing ever. But yeah, here's where I compare it to the Air 65. Here, this insane 16.5 gram. This is once I had fully upgraded the Mobula 6 2024. Here's another really good stream, Mobula 6 2024 upgrades you should do. There's an, that's right. I did this extreme durability test. Wow, this stream did really good. Almost 6,000 views. Damn. Yeah, this is where I beat the living hell out of it. And then here's where I tore it down. So yeah, a whole bunch of Mobula 6 2024. But the long and short of it is, it's awesome and you'll dig it. And it takes upgrades really well. But if you want to dive in, if you're doing a bunch of work and you want to leave something on in the background, there's a bunch of streams. Just search Mobula 6 2024. All right, I'm caught up. V Grang says Mobula 6 2024 had a lot of issues from VTX or is okay. I want a 65 rig, but the more durable. If durability, you just mentioned durability, get a 2G4. Do an old school Mobula 6 build. The 2024 seems to be okay. It's not great. There have been a bunch that have broken, but I know they sold a ton. So I don't know. I have two of them. They've both been completely fine. That's not a big enough sample size. I have heard from people that they've blown up right away. That is always the case, though. Everything in FPV, you're always going to find a bunch of people that have them blow up right out of the box. So, but the old school 2G4 Happy Model AIO is bomb-proof. TinyWhoop builds are super simple. So you mentioned durability like super early. And so get a 2G4, get a Cockroach V3 or Light AF frame, get a Mobula 6 canopy and a RunCam Nano 3 if you can. Fuck, man. Some of this stuff is getting hard to find. The 2G4 really benefits from... The 2G4 is a heavier AIO, and it really pairs well with the Mobula 6 old school canopy and the RunCam Nano 3. It's getting really hard to find the RunCam Nano 3. So yes, you can put it with another camera and canopy, but that's going to be heavier. And the 2G4 is kind of a heavier AIO. So, yeah. If you can find a Runcam Nano 3, you'll be able to find an old school Mobula 6 canopy. That's the move. But if you start having trouble finding that stuff, just snag a Mobula 6 2024. They've been holding up really, really well from what I've seen. Don't let like the couple people that have had them blow up completely turn you off, because the thing came out and tons of people bought them. And yeah, absolutely. A whole bunch of people buy a product all at once. There's going to be a bunch of people that go, "Oh, what the fuck? It blew up." And all the people that are that got good ones, they're not really saying anything. They're too busy flying. You know what I mean? All right, let's remove this camera from the X12. One. Yeah. Oh, I gotta get in here with tweezers. That's what she said. All right, we got video. We've got voltage. Get out of there. And we've got ground. The ground pads are connected to the ground plane, which is one big sheet of copper. So the ground pads are always going to be harder and take longer to heat up. Just be patient. And now I'm going to take this. Well, all right, let me check something. Let me check how long this BT 2.0 is. So with it in here, you want to make your battery leads as short as possible because they're heavy. And so in the Meteor frame with a battery, let's take a look at, so the battery sits up there. Oh no, see, this is the perfect length. Yeah, this BT 2.0 is the perfect length. Okay, good deal. I do not need to shorten it. Although, shit, it might actually not be long enough. Because you got to look at the location of the pads that that it's being hooked up with. Nope, they're exactly the same spot as the Mobula 6. So it's gonna the battery leads are going to hook up right there, and that's the same amount rearward between these two, right? So this cable does not need to be lengthened or shortened, which is terrific. All right, so let's get this BT 2.0 lead off of here. And I'm just going to like hold this plug in these two fingers so I can pull down on it. And since this board is junk anyway, I'm just going to put the soldering iron in between these two pads to heat both pads up at once. And that's what's happening right now. And in a second here, there it goes. This X12 technically does work. If anybody wants it, it's just got that motor 3 twitching issue. If anybody wants it, I'll send it to you for $5. That's what it cost me to ship it. Let me know. X12 ELRS version 2.1. Oh, and it's got the little, I didn't even realize that. It's got the little slots on the outside too. That makes it easy to put the grommets in and out of. Shame, man. Poor little X12. All right. This is mass adhesive, thermally resistive putty. It's basically blue tack, but it is better than blue tack. I love this stuff. This is like my super handy setup here. You just jam your components into it like that, and it holds them like really firmly. And and it's just quick and it's easy, and there's not any like arms or like weird ball joints or anything like that. You just shove your stuff in there, and you can put stuff like vertically, you can put it sideways. This is the most handy stuff ever. So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on these pads, and then I'm going to tin the pads. They are pads that are off on the side, which I'm really starting to like more and more. Where's my little roll of solder at? Where are you at, solder? Solder, where have you gone? Did I use it up last time I was... Okay, maybe I used all of it. I doubt it, but whatever. When you get a little fresh piece of solder, take a screwdriver with a round handle, wrap it around, and keep it neat and tidy. Wrap it around like this, and then send this part out like that, bunch it up, and then you've got an excellent little bit of solder that stands up on the desk, because you can take the tip of the soldering iron, pick up a little bit of extra solder, or you've got a little handle so that you can add it. This is such a nice little trick. All right, so let's tin these pads. We're going to put the soldering iron on the bottom and add solder from the top. All right, ground pad first here. There we go. You don't need to add a ton. Just try to coat the pad, and there we go. And then, yeah, the other pads I need I buried, so we'll get them in a minute. We'll tin the other pads in a minute. Here's the battery lead, and so we've got round is ground. And so the white is the ground. And so here's the next question. Is the ground in the rear on both of these? I can't possibly get that lucky. Can I? Oh my God. Yeah! HGLRC, if you consciously copied Happy Model on that, thank you. Thank you for doing that. That was pretty kind of you. All right, so since it's these pads that are on the outside of the board, it's super simple. There's no holes to clear out. You just kind of hold this on here and then push it into the little U-joint. I can show you guys a little bit better here. I was going to kind of rush through this, but just in case anybody else gets this, this shouldn't be too hard to show you. The camera is only kind of getting in the way, but we'll work it out. All right, so make sure you got the wire exactly where you want it before you bring the heat in. Double check, round is ground, and ground is white in BetaFPV's world. There we go. So this is the ground pad. You want to be as patient as you can. And now I'm coming in from a weird angle, so I'm gonna correct. I want more of a contact patch. See, this angle's a little bit better. It's going to transfer the heat more quickly. All right, and I've got no flux anymore. See how there's no smoke coming off of that? It's tacked, but that's a terrible solder joint right there. There's no smoke coming off, which means that there's no flux. And that's just going to make your job way harder. So stop. When there's no smoke, stop. Add some flux. It'll make the quality better, and it'll make your life easier. Watch the difference here. Ready? Watch how quick this thing drops down in there. Or not. I only put the flux on the wire. I should have put the flux more on the pad. And again, this is the ground pad, which is harder. Man, Jesus. All right, hold on. Hold on. Let's do this the right way. So we're going to put flux here on the pad. And then we're going to put a little bit on the wire as well. But the big thing is that we're going to get the flux in the pad. And now, here's a little trick. Which is to, first of all, clean the tip of your damn soldering iron, you sloppy, lazy bastard. If if you're starting to have problems with something like this, get a preheat the pad basically. All right, so I want this wire to be like that, and so oh, Jesus Christ, this is so fiddly. All right, so it's gonna plug in like that. I like for these wires to not have like a half a twist in them. All right, there we go. This is why you don't rush through this stuff. So we're gonna preheat the pad first here. Right, and now that's molten. And now it is gonna cool down, but it'll maintain a bunch of heat. And there we go. That's what we're looking for. Hold it nice and still and just be patient. And while it's still warm, since this is going backwards, I like to try to put a little bend in the wire. So I just come down here and just bend the wire backwards just a little bit, because that's the direction that this wire is going. Just makes it sit in the plastic frame a little bit better there. All right, and now that it was a pain in the ass because it was the ground pad. I bet you this voltage pad is won't be such a jerk. So let's see. Let's do it without adding any flux. Oh man, yeah. See, I got a bunch of twist in this wire. That's kind of annoying, but it'll be all right. All right, let's see. See if we can get this one with no flux. There's kind of no reason to not do this without flux, but I'm just more curious than anything else. Yeah, see, look how much easier that was. Look how much quicker that melted. And I like to try to get the silicone insulation right up against the board. That's going to make that joint an awful lot stronger, because it's going to bend at the silicone rather than bending at like a part of the wire where there's just individual strands. And so there we go. Just putting a little angle in the wire, just getting these wires to fold down real nice. And that is good to go. Now we will do the camera wires. And we'll be done. That's what I'm talking about the bend. Just putting a little bend so that because that's the direction that they're going, right? They're going out the back of the frame. All right, so we got a bunch of pads up here, and this is where we're going to hook the camera up to. I think it's the first 3 pads, but I actually have to look on their website real quick here. Okay. There it is. So camera ground 5 volt. There it is, and it's on the left side. So, yep, I was right. Camera ground 5 volt. Yellow, black, red. Let's do it. We're going to tin them first. We've got 1, 2, 3. Okay. See how it was smoking just now? There's flux inside the core of the solder, in case you didn't know. Yellow, black, red, which is different than it was on the Happy model. So let me just untwist these wires a little bit. And let me also make sure that I have enough insulation strips back. The pads on that Happy model board were tiny. And so I just stripped back like a nothing amount of insulation here. The power wire is fine, the video wire is fine, but the ground wire, I'm going to have to strip a little bit of extra of the insulation. Although what I like to do first is just use my fingernail and try to pull back on the insulation. If it's silicone insulation, you can pull it back a little bit, which is really nice, because then it won't you won't have that big ugly section of just wire. You can get the silicone right up to the board that way. I think I'll be all right on that. I think we'll be fine there. All right, so let's go left to right on this one here. All right, so what is it? 5 volt first? Yeah, 5 volt is the farthest to the left. Let's see if I can do this while just holding it. Don't recommend doing it this way, but once you've done this enough times, you can kind of half-ass some stuff and still get good quality results. Hey, look at that. So after you get one, what you can do is just like let the thing sort of hang, and then you grab your tweezers, and sometimes you can get the next one in there. I'm kind of skeptical though. I might need to be a little bit better about this. This is just me trying to do it quick. Do as I say, not as I do, right? So this is going to be the ground pad. See, this is the problem. It gets all gangly and there's shit flying everywhere. Let's just try to bang this out though. Let's just see. Got it. Ah, shit. I'm soldering this on the wrong direction. This is why you don't rush. I'm putting these wires going downwards, which is obviously stupid. So I'm going to turn this around, and then I can basically do the exact same thing where I can actually see what the hell I'm doing, which is really nice, right? So get a little angle on it, and we'll do the exact same thing. But I'm now going to do the video wire first. Again, I like to go left to right so I'm not crossing over myself. So I'm going to do the video wire first here. Again, I'm kind of half-assing this, but I just want to get this done quick. All right, good to go with the video pad. Now we're going to do the ground pad, which is always going to be the hardest. All right, and this wire is starting to flatten out, which we don't want. We want it to be nice and round. There we go, all better. Okay, get it in there. Nope, 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 nope. That's better. Clean that up. Hands are shaking a little bit because I'm hungry. Oh, balls. All right, so you see how it's the solder is making that stupid little Hershey kiss? That is because solder travels towards the heat, and there's no flux, so the heat is not transferring to the pad enough, and that's what causes that. So we're going to put some flux, we're going to clean the tip of the soldering iron, and we're just going to rework this. And that just means that we hold it exactly where it is, put the heat back on it, take the heat back off, and you'll see it will fix that, and then we'll have a nice shiny ball. And so I like to do that by clamping these two wires. That'll hold it in place, and there you go. And I might as well hit this ground wire again, because some of the flux oozed over onto it. And now that joint's much better. And now here we go with power. And that is just about as good as it's going to get. And there you go. That's what you want the joints to look like. Nice and smooth, shiny. You got the insulation right up against the board. That's like a little hack that nobody really talks about, but that makes it a little bit more durable. I sure wish this would focus. Well, you get the picture. Send a letter to Logitech that says, "Get your shit together, losers." And there you go. Specter board is ready. Now we just got to do all the setup and all the other stuff. But that amount of work for a full build is pretty cool. And then just screwed a bunch of screws in, you know? Another one of the magical parts of TinyWhoop. All right. And twist these wires up just to keep them neat and tidy. It also potentially helps with electrical noise abatement, let's say. but mainly it just looks better and keeps everything from getting all gangly and ugly. And there we go. So it's going to sit, where's that USB port? It's going to sit like that. This guy, I mean, we might as well plug it in. Yeah, let's see how the... I've started to do this thing where I'm jamming the ORT antennas into the canopy. I'm not totally sold on it yet. I'll let you know some long-term results. It seems to be okay, but I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. It's too late to make words into sentences. As long as it's not 1 a.m. Son of a bitch, it's 1 a.m. in 2 minutes. There we go. Got that plugged in. Throw some grommets on here. I'll at least give you the satisfaction of seeing this thing put together. Unfortunately, I'm not going to fly it tonight because I got to do all the Betaflight setup. But here's the frame it's going in. Here's passing that BT 2.0 through. Let's see how these grommets do. That's fine. Yeah, the grommets are actually not popping out. They're totally behaving. Awesome. Way to go, HGLRC. They might have done good with this one. These grommets are a bit too tall. So one of the other things I wanted to see is how this AIO fits in this frame. It's close. The one battery lead is getting awful close to the frame here. Let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. Hold on. The positive lead. Yeah, okay. I messed that up. That's my bad. I need to rework the positive lead. Let me do that super quick. I did not inspect my work close enough, and the positive lead is it's actually not in the little slot. It's kind of going sideways there. And that is just barely touching the frame, but just barely is too much. Can't have that. So let's pull one of these grommets out. I'm also not going to run these grommets. These grommets are a little bit taller, which is nice a lot of the time. But in this case, I want this thing to sit all the way down, so I'm not going to run these HGLRC grommets that this thing came with. Push it into the putty. And, all right, let's just pop this guy off real quick. And, well, nope. I won't even pop it. Yeah, okay. I guess it's coming off. I'm not going to give you the close-up view. The close-up view is why I fucked this up, because when the camera is in the way, in the front there, I can't see what the hell I'm doing. All right, so this is like this, so I want this wire twisted like that. Okay. And there we go. Come in at a little bit of an angle so that I have more contact patch, and there we go. Now that wire is up in there. And while it's still warm, just make a little angle here. That is good to go. All right, so now, also, if you're going to be soldering on TinyWhoops, get a set of these. Just type in, like, I don't know, head-mounted magnification or something like that in eBay. These are absolutely essential, like, for real. I have fairly good vision, although it's getting worse and worse here in my 40s. But it's impossible to work on this stuff at this point without magnification. Once you use magnification on this stuff, you can't go back. Before you've used magnification, you're like, what's the big deal? And then you use it and you're like, oh, that's the big deal. And it is. It really is a big deal. It makes a makes a massive difference. Do I have a set of grommets here? No, I have 3. I have 3 good grommets and 1 oddball. What the hell? How does that happen? I'm going to pull the grommets out of the X12 because these Happy Model grommets are very short. Although these are not Happy Model grommets. These are newbie drone rubber grommets. Interesting. Brandon's Baked Beans is in the house. What's up, homie? 4D chess? What? Let me read that in a second. I really want to get this knocked out. I cannot believe it's 1 a.m. But it's 1 a.m. because you guys had awesome questions, as you tend to. So it's all good. It's all good. Yo, I am hungry. I shake when I get hungry. All right. I can already tell that's much better with that that battery lead. See, and yeah, this was one of the questions: is will this Specter AIO work in the Mobula? I'm sorry, the Meteor 75 airframe, and it's certainly looking like the answer is yes. So there's that, and then I've also got to get this canopy down here. So let's just get this ORT antenna where it needs to be. Okay. It's kind of fighting me a little bit. It's just the antenna wire being a jackass. There we go. Hanging out the back a little bit there. That's fine. All right, cool. The wires for the camera are fine. Yeah, man. This should be totally cool. I'm going to use these nice longer screws that this thing came with, which is such a cool little bonus. Where the hell's my wee little screwdriver? There he is. Little Phil in the house. This is Little Phil, friends. Little Phil. Not to be confused with Medium Phil. This is Medium Phil. And then both of them have this really good friend. You'll never guess what his name is. Oh man, Big Phil's not here. Big Phil's in the garage. All the big tools are in the garage. I ain't walking out there. It's just a big Phillips head screwdriver. Is that threading in to the plastic post, or is that threading in between the plastic post and the rubber grommet? Nope, it was plastic posting. I'm always nervous about that. Oh yeah, these screws are awesome. Wow, that is so much more thread engagement. Holy Christ. All right. Let's get these other three in, and I really want to check the fitment with this thing, like all ready to go. And so yeah, I figure it's worth another couple of minutes here. I mean, it looks to be totally fine. I can't imagine I'm gonna see anything different here, but I also kind of want to weigh it, and I want to weigh it with all the screws in it, because they do make a difference. Yeah, dude, these screws that this thing comes with are awesome. This is like the perfect amount of thread engagement. This is good stuff. I'm digging this. All right, there we go. Yeah, that's really nice. Good on you, HGLRC. My God. They got a bunch of stuff right here. All right, so let's take a close look at this thing all bolted together here. So we've got the ceramic tower antenna, which unbelievably is just like perfectly nestled in there. It's a little close. There's a chance that there might be some vibration issues, but I don't think so. I think that has just enough clearance. The camera wires there, just barely clear. I know it looks like that's pinched, but it actually isn't. It can move a little bit. And if I need to move it to the right a little bit, I certainly can. But I think it's going to be okay. This side we've got the ORT antenna kind of hanging out, but who cares? That fits fine. You can see there is a gap between the board and the frame. That's good. All four sides. And then the other thing that can be a problem on the Meteor 75 airframe is this angle here. The right down in there. On some boards that'll hit, but on this one it doesn't look like it's quite hitting. It looks like there's just a little bit of clearance. What I'm curious about is what happens when I plug these motors in. So let's do that with one of them real quick. Hold on. Because the head of the motor plug has a little bit of thickness to it. And so... Ooh, yeah, that's not great. That's not what I wanted to see. It might be okay, but it is touching. See how the head of the plug is kind of sitting a little bit sideways in there? That's not great. It's not the best thing in the world. That's not a problem with HGLRC. That's a problem with BetaFPV designing this frame and only speccing it out for their cross-style AIO. And now we have to pay the price for that because they couldn't get a couple other AIOs in, or they didn't want to get a couple other AIOs in and modify the frame a little bit. Yeah, that ain't gonna fly. I'm either gonna move this back to a Mobula 7 V4 frame, or I guess I can try to clearance that a little bit. The problem is, right on the other side of that is one of these little supports. Oh, man, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the fact that the head has a little bit of... The head of the plug has a little bit of jam to it. Damn it, I was really hoping to use this Meteor 75 airframe. That's okay. The Mobula 7 V4 frame is great. There's nothing wrong with it, especially after you've beefed up those little parts above the batteries being held that I showed you guys earlier. Yeah, man, those motor plugs are firmly pushed into that part of the frame. It doesn't look like I'll need to cut off much material though. Oh my god. All right, yeah, that ain't happening tonight, but let's weigh it and then we'll shut this MF down. Hello, the scale says. 24.35. How the hell? This AIO might be heavier than the X12. It kind of has to be, because I know that this Meteor 75 airframe is a full gram lighter than the Mobula 7 V4 frame. So this AIO is 0.3, I think, 0.3 of a gram heavier than the X12. That's not too bad. I've not been super happy with the durability of the X12. So if it doesn't catch on fire, and it flies okay, I'm willing to take that little hit in weight. But yeah, as this is, the motor plug location is not really compatible with this frame. So I guess I'll try to clearance this frame a little bit. If that becomes too frustrating, I will just move it back to the V4 frame. That's a bummer. I was really hoping that it would just be kind of a drop-in affair, but it doesn't look like I need to take that much off there. And it's like right on the corner here. I also don't think that it'll really make it much less durable. It could. Probably not, though. Always something, man. It's always something. No, I'm going to stop. It's 1 a.m. for Christ's sakes. I'll finish that up tomorrow. What's up, chat? Jacob Russell says, I crashed Mobula 7 and broke the camera. Any recommendations for a Nano 3 replacement since they're discontinued? Most of the Nano 3 is very unique in that it's super lightweight. All the rest of the cameras are pretty much the same weight, and it's analog, so they all end up looking like ass anyway, so close your eyes and point. There's not like a significant enough difference to really spend much time researching all these other cameras. They all do look a little bit different. You might be able to find one that looks best for you, but I mean, they just look different. There's not one that's like that much better. What I can say is that the Caddx Ant is much more of an outdoor camera. Don't run that inside. But the rest of the cameras are good indoor, outdoor. Cloudhopper says, Black Market FPV still has 2G4 Mobula 6s, as does Pyrodrone, and I believe GetFPV as well. Great Scott says, me, I'd love that X12. Sounds good. Message me. Brandon's Baked Bean says, what CiottiFPV is doing right now is my least favorite thing. 1S AIO pigtails on the PCB. Sometimes it's a real pain in the ass. But, yeah. 4D chess method of having a small segment of flux core solder tinned to the pad prior. You know, I meant to do that. Somebody posted that somewhere. Yeah, you can... yeah, we'll talk about it next time. Do me a favor, mention that next time. I want to do that. I totally forgot. Kozak FPV says it's supposed to be like 0.3 grams lighter. Do not believe the weight measurements on websites. They are commonly dead ass wrong. If I can find an extra... Hold on. I'm super curious now. I'm pretty sure... Oh my god, I have two of the frames right here. Perfect. I'll tell you right now. Meteor 75 Air, Mobula 7 V4. Meteor 75 Air is 4.58 grams. Mobula 7 V4 is 5.54. Yep. 1 gram. 1 gram different. So, and I transferred all the same parts over. Same length motor screws, all the same stuff. So, yeah. The HGLRC Specter is 0.3 of a gram heavier than the X12. Perfect example of weights on websites being just wrong sometimes. It's really frustrating, especially like when it matters, you know. All right, friends, be good. CiottiFPV.com, support your boy, and I'll keep doing this for the long haul, my friends. I'll see you guys on Friday. Maybe we'll start the Quadmula Siren F3 split build. It's here somewhere. Come back on Friday. You get to see me open this. I'm not going to open it until Friday. Doesn't that make you want to come back? Kill me. I hate YouTube. I love YouTube. I hate the people that are on YouTube. Actually, I just hate people. There you go. But I love you guys. Be good, friends. I'll see you Friday at 7 Eastern time. Goodbye. I'm not ready. Here's some more flying from 2020. June 13th. Come on. Come on, computer. You can do this. I have all the confidence in the world in you. Look at this look at Shaggy Ciotti. Whoa! I'm gonna give you like a second of Shaggy Ciotti, and then I'll fast forward to the flying. Love you. Bye.